Recording in progress.
Okay. All right. Just a second.
And we are sort of live.
All right.
And we are live.
Welcome all to episode 76 of the Plastic Posse. And I totally forgot what I was going to say. Sorry.
Drum roll, please. Take two.
And the Be Real moves on.
Remember that you can send us faceback and suggestions. Faceback.
Latest merch, t-shirt, hashtag faceback.
Faceback. Faceback.
All right.
I love what
Easy
Chris
there.
says.
Jensen's on. Come on now. I'm just kidding. Scott delete. Don't put
No,
that. Please keep that in.
This time we interview, are you doing it or am I doing it? Sorry.
I'm dude. I'm just trying to get some friendly banter.
Let me start again.
We're very professional.
Yeah, we're
Could be worse.
we're real good. Welcome, everybody, to episode 76 of the Plastic Posse. I'm here with my buddies Scott, Doug, JB, Jensen, and our special guests, Cliff Herring and Rick Lawler. How you guys doing?
Hanging in there.
Yeah,
Woo!
I'm good.
All right. That's great to hear. I'm great to hear from everybody. So I'm going to go around the room and see how everybody's doing and what they're working on. Let's start out with Mr. Colorado himself. JB, how you doing?
Good. I think for the last couple of weeks, though, you got to call me Mr. California. I've been traveling for work a lot, so I might be a resident there. But no, everything's been going good on my end. You know, I have a couple major focuses, one of which is that SDKF said 251, which is hitting the shelves and mailboxes of a lot of people. So I got my shipping notification from Andy. So if you did pre-order one, yours should be over very, very soon. So I have that I'm working on. When I did travel to California, I took along and I cheated a little bit because I have two facades. But I started working on the bookstore facade, which mine will be a derelict hobby shop. So I will paint some of the boxes with a little bit of markings that are hobby related. But don't worry, I have another one, the garage as well, that I'll do for the build along. So I have those two. And then also when I travel, I took a couple sets of SC3D tracks and put those together in the hotel room. So that's been what I've been working on.
That's great. You know, we've noticed the traffic's gotten heavier here, so I do appreciate you showing up and adding to it.
Yeah, you know, I have an entourage, and you know, it's tough. It's tough.
You know, I saw the ospreys flying by, so I figured you were in town.
Yeah, you know, I guess we should tell our listeners that we have a beast very similar to the president's that, you know, it goes everywhere on a C-17 and has a giant plastic posse sticker on the side of it. But yeah, what can I say?
That's great. That's great. Scott, how are you doing?
Hey, my friend, I am doing great. Had a great week. Earlier this week, we got to interview Lincoln Wright from Australia, and that was a lot of fun. It's always fun to hear somebody give TJ a little bit of guff, and so you'll want to stick around and listen to that. Grant, because he apparently has angered Mother Nature, wasn't able to attend. He got to endure not only a tropical storm, but an earthquake, and then, you know, provide those as lame excuses not to show up. But no, it's a great conversation. You'll hear that later in the episode. Link is doing really, really well, and he has some great things to talk about. So make sure you stick around and listen to that. I have been actually working a little bit on my 3D printed Colonial Viper, prepping all the parts for a primer. And then with my buddy Josh Buck. Hey, Josh, we've been doing some build nights over here, and I've been working on one of the DOS Work 35th scale American 155 millimeter howitzer. My version is a World War II modernized version of essentially a World War I gun. Man, impressed with that little kit. I mean, you have to work for it a little bit, but the detail detail is really unbelievable. Anyway, that's been a lot of fun.
All right, Doug, how you doing?
I'm doing well. And before I start, I'm going to just shout out my daughter, who just before we started recording this morning finished her first half marathon.
Ooh,
awesome. So
well, that's awesome.
She's just very tired, very sore, but happy she did it, I think. And already talking about the next one. So anyway, I too have been working on my facade. I'm not nearly as far along as JB is, but I've got Charvin's facade, and got that going. It's a lot of fun. I really like these little things. It's kind of a simple idea to give you everything you need to do something in a simple, no build, but just paint. I'm having fun with it. I also have been working on a couple of things that I started in the last year. I'm trying to kind of clear my backlog before I really jump hard into something else. At least get a few things out of the way before I add more. So I started working on the Tamiya 48 scale Tiger that I started end of last year. I started building a base for that. I'm just gonna have fun wrapping it up. Nothing special on that one. Just we'll see how it looks. Right now, I'm pretty happy with it. For me, it looks great. But then I look at somebody else's 3-tone camos on, and I just think, well, mine looks fine for me. That's really what's important.
There you go.
Yeah, and I've been collecting parts, not parts, but I got decals for my P47 for the Operation Overlord build, so I'm excited about that. And yeah, ready to move on.
Are you going to do the crashed one, or are you going to do it?
I'm gonna do it on the ground, like bellied in. I've got there's a couple of good reference photos up close where you can see the kind of wear on the wings from the crash.
Wow, cool.
So I will do that. And I don't think I'm going to end up putting a tractor on it, but I will have the soldiers standing around it like that were there when the tractor was towing it. So
yeah, cool. That's great, man. That's really good.
That'll allow me to keep the base pretty small.
Yeah, good point. And our friend from overseas, the man who just kicked COVID's butt, Jensen, how you doing?
Hi. I'm good. It's nice to, get rid of COVID. It still lingers a little. The only thing it has done that's good for me is give me a voice where I actually kind of sound like a man. So that's good. So coming back from Nats, I was, for a while, we were talking about what we want a clean slate build when we return. And for me, I bought the Border Models Focke-Wulf 190A6, the 35th scale aircraft. Beautiful. It's got rivets everywhere, and I just love rivets. So I started building that. I've got all the engine built up, the cockpit built up, the landing gear bays built up, the machine guns built up. Lots of sub-assemblies, and you don't usually start building it in a traditional aircraft way. Usually aircraft start you building the cockpit first, but you get a lot of the construction out of the way before you even get to the cockpit, and the Focke-Wulf cockpits are pretty simplistic anyway. So that's all primed in Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black now, ready to do some painting this afternoon. I was going to put it on the back burner because in less than 2 months, we have Scale Model Challenge coming up. And right at the last minute, I've been thinking, do I enter something in the contest? So now I'm thinking, do I just find something and I know I can build decent and get something done for that contest? Still thinking about it, but as each day goes on, the closer it gets. So I'm not sure.
Do it.
Okay. Well, there's the answer then. Looks like I'm going to have to put that aside and find something to build. I know Sam Dwyer, has been telling me to enter something, so I'll find something in the stash.
Do you have an AK Land Rover?
No, I do not.
Well, funny story. We have someone from AK here. Maybe they could help you.
I thought you got one initially.
Not the Land Rover.
I've got enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll see what we could do.
Right. My paint rack's looking pretty empty as well. So.
Yeah.
Going back to what Sam said. I think there's a rule that if the Sam Dwyer gives you some advice, you listen.
Yeah. So, if he says it, you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, that's me. I've just been working on the Focke-Wulf. It's a nice kit. It gives and it takes. The kit itself is beautiful, like the paneling, the rivets, all gorgeous. The instructions riddled with mistakes. That unfortunately apparently is kind of a common thing with border model kits. It's a shame because doing the exhausts and all the piping, I was just like, this makes no sense. So I just chopped up all the bits myself and I was just like, right, let's see how this actually works. Yeah, but apart from the mistakes in the instructions, and I've noticed now they've started correcting them, the kits are actually really good. So that aircraft is a very nice kit. But yeah, that's all I've been really working on.
That's great. That's great. And speaking of Sam, the Sam Dwyer, sorry, Sam, don't hurt me for that. He posted his Panther online this week, and that is one beautiful build. Just got to say that, Sam. Great work. All right, let's go over to Cliff Herring. How you doing, Cliff?
I'm hanging in there.
There you go. You feeling any better, or?
A little bit. The COVID's gone, but it's kind of lingering. So the last couple of weeks have been like really bad allergies, kind of.
Right.
So it's better than it was.
That's good. That's good. Well, we really did miss you at Nats, but we did get to see your 44, which was great. We really do appreciate it. So, what have you been up to lately?
Absolutely nothing.
There you go.
I lived vicariously through everyone else that was at Nats and was sick. And as I recovered, I just I needed to take a sabbatical. So the only thing on my bench right now is Windex. I have cleaned my bench, and I have 3 or 4 kits that I want to start. And then you guys did the video for the 80th anniversary of D-Day group build, and now I'm totally lost at what I want to build. So
yeah, see, that's our job.
I'll make a decision soon and figure out what I'm going to start up.
Yeah, you say that. I think cleaning the bench is actually a project for most of us alone. I mean, because I know my bench is a mess half the time. So when I start cleaning it, it takes a little while myself. So I
clean as slow as I build. So
yeah. I don't know about that. Is there little Easter eggs all over your desk too? But I have to ask.
Actually, there are. I have Post-it notes, and the skull that I cut out for the top of the Mark 44 is waiting to be plastered onto something. So
that's great. Well, we're actually glad to hear you're feeling a little bit better, and really glad you're here today. We really do appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Hey, thanks so much. And Mr. Rick Lawler, how you doing, sir?
Can there be 2 these in the world? I don't know. Sam got it first, I think.
We got to have different continents have their own. So
okay.
So
I do appreciate that. I'm good, guys. Pleasure to be with you right now. It's a bunch of smiling faces. Afterglow of Nats. I know it's a couple of weeks away or in the past, but still kind of reveling in all that funness that we had together. That was a great time, guys. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Appreciated you. The class was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. So what have I been up to since, I guess? When I got back, I kind of got swamped with some work, real work projects here. I know modeling is your profession. This never worked, right? But had some new products show up right before I left and right when I got back. So I've been working on some videos for those. Did that little rock base. I don't know if you guys saw that with little buildings on top. That was kind of a part of a demo. That was a lot of fun. Talk about palette cleansing to something totally different, just winging it, making up the scale as I went along. Oh, this looks good. This looks good, and trying out some of those new colors. That was a lot of fun. And then kind of simultaneously, and then since then, I've been working on this AFV Club M10 because I'm still on this Vietnam War kick. And speaking of kicks, this M10 has been kicking my ass for the last 2 weeks. It's kind of like Jensen was saying about the instructions. Man, what a letdown on the instructions. Very difficult to get through those, and a lot of piping and hydraulics that just I couldn't make heads or tails of it. Just spent more time staring at the instructions than building the kit. So, but it's done. There's paint on it. And maybe if we talk about how to get out of ruts a little bit later on, I think that might be one of our topics. I'll kind of tell you what I'm doing to get out of a rut. So having to do with the M10.
That's great. And myself, as you heard from Scott, I went through a little bit of a tropical storm up here. And then right in the middle of the tropical storm, we decided to have an earthquake because, God doesn't like us enough as it is. So we got through that. We're doing fine. I am working on a couple figures right now, getting ready for Chicago coming up in October. I've got some training I'm going to go through with some individuals from San Diego, a one-on-one training painting for non-metallic metal tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to that. I really appreciate them taking their time to help me with that. So other than that, that's about it. I spent 3 hours on the freeway yesterday, so that also counts as work time. So, but that was fun. But other than that, everything's going great. I do have to say, TJ is actually at a show today, so he will not be joining us. So he's at the tank farm at Knoxville, Virginia today with his group, his AMPS group, and everybody else. So we do miss you, TJ. Get you back here real soon. We need to talk to you about the group build with Overlord.
The Plastic Posse podcast is sponsored by Tankcraft. In addition to their awesome cutting mats, Tankcraft also makes some incredible scale modeling tools for your workbench. Want to keep extra thin cement off your bench and in the bottle where it belongs? Check out Tankcraft Glue Base, designed to stop glue spills in their tracks. The glue base is made from solid mill aluminum and comes with a stable rubber base pad and can accommodate most square and round cement bottles. And while you're there, check out their line of cutting mats and other unique modeling tools. Remember, Posse listeners get 15% off their first order by using the code POSSE15. So head on over to tankcraft.com. That's TANKRAFT.com.
All right. So Rick did bring up our first discussion point. Let's talk about that. This discussion point kind of came up a couple of weeks ago when we were talking with TJ, and TJ brought up something that I found quite interesting and started thinking about. He said, when you're tired or worn out or blocked, what subject of models do you return to get your energy back? And as TJ said, he goes back to Machine Krieger, which he finds that he really knows the product real well. He knows the companies real well. And so it's easy for him to restart. Myself, when I'm having troubles and I'm not doing anything right and I'm blocked or something like that, I always go back to, I think Tamiya is my fallback. Tamiya kits are my fallback with that 1/35 scale. And to tell you the truth, it's the Schweimagen. I don't know what it is about that kit. I love that kit. I've got 7 of them sitting around here in all different stages of completion and completed. For some reason, for me, that kit it's a fall together kit. It is easy for me to build, and I love to build it. It's just the idea of a floating car is kind of interesting to me. And so I always fall back on that kit. And, to me, that's fun that I have a kit that I know a lot about. I know the generalized aspects of the vehicle itself also. So everything kind of falls together for me. And that helps me get my process back and start building again. So I'm going to go around the room again, but I'm going to go backwards this time. So Rick, you're going to be up first. So what do you fall back on?
Oh, goodness. I think I kind of misunderstood the question, but I'll answer it in two parts.
No,
I will answer it in 2 parts here. So
yeah.
I absolutely enjoy making diorama bases or small scenes and things like that. So back to that little rock base that I just did, but I'll just put little bases together just for the heck of it. And that's just fun. I don't have to worry about it. I can kind of experiment with some stuff, try different painting techniques, different colors, things like that. So that's always fun. It's kind of a relaxing thing. In terms of kind of lately, and when I say lately, like over the past, few months, let's say last 3 or 4 builds, I felt like I've been in a rut. It's like the mojo's kind of gone, and I didn't quite know how to get over that hump. What I'm finding right now is I purposely on this M10 had decided before I went into it that I'm going to try something totally different in terms of finishing and weathering. So not back to my usual oil paints, anything like that. So coincidentally, these new products showed up on my bench. And so this whole thing is going to be weathered out and painted out in a very new products, brand new products, new products for me, new products that will be on the shelf soon if they're not already. So no oil paints at all. Just trying out something different. And I found myself, now that I'm into that painting and weathering stage over the last couple of days, I'm waking up in the morning going like, I got to get to the bench because now I'm excited to try this because I'm learning and experimenting. And I started out with the road wheels on those, just did some things on the backside just to kind of get an idea of how these things are going to work. And then I just said, okay, let's go for it, and started at the most obvious spot on the top of the hole and started going for it. And I'm having a blast. So for me, it's kind of just a change up of process, procedures, materials, things like that. Really kind of helped me move over those humps.
Yeah, I followed your building of the monastery on the rock, which was I really like that. That had to be a heck of a palate cleanser for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially when you don't have. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially when you don't have to really worry about getting it right, so to speak. You're just building to build.
Right. Yeah, and the rocks are out. Fantastic. I like the way you did the rocks and the description of how you had the little bit of a screw up there and you fixed it yourself. And that was great. I really, really enjoyed that. And like I said, it turned out great.
No, thank you. Appreciate that.
Not a problem. All right, Cliff, what do you do?
I only build one model at a time. So it's not like I can really pick up something and off the shelf and work on that.
Right.
And I'm really bad procrastinator. But I get so involved in my builds. Usually what I do is I just take a little bit of a break. Now I'll come to the bench, but I have a TV. So the night shift videos, the propaganda videos, all those things that I don't really get a chance to watch or take a look at while I'm building because I'm so involved in it. I'll just sit here at the bench and I'll turn that on. And that usually gives me good ideas on, if I'm stuck somewhere on how to fix it, or if I ever go back to anything, I have a little ATST that's kind of I try stuff out on and I'll mess with that. But basically I'll just take a micro break and I'll turn on Martin Kovac or I'll turn on Rick, or I'll turn on a video. I'll watch that and it just kind of gets me through wherever I'm stuck, whether it's in the front of my brain or in the back of my brain. And that's usually what I do.
That's great. I mean, that's that's a fantastic way to handle it, because like you said, you come into the room itself, but you're learning a new project. I'm sure somebody out there does the same thing, or even just like reads books or looks at, reference materials. Another good thing to do probably in that genre. But that's great, Cliff. That's a fantastic idea. Jensen, what about yourself?
Yeah, I've got two kind of answers for this. For me, when I'm struggling or having a block or anything like that, I tend to actually just not model at all. It tends not to be the subject that stops me progressing. It tends to be just the motivation to model in general, because when I'm motivated, I'll build anything. Mm-hmm. So usually if there's a block, I just stop until the want to carry on returns. But what helps kind of bring that back is sometimes, for example, these facades we have, 0 building required. Take it out of the box and get a paintbrush and some paint and just follow your heart's content. Just do whatever you want with it, whatever comes to mind. And it doesn't feel like it's much of an effort, but you're seeing results, and you can quickly approach the completion of something, and you get that nice feeling of, oh, I've achieved something, I've done something. That comes back really quick, which then can drive the want to build more things. This is why Tamiya kits are really good, because they really are. You can just one afternoon, like the Marder kits or the little self-propelled guns, the German early war stuff, anything like that. Like the Stuart is an incredible example of that. A kit you can just literally get out of the box one afternoon. You've got it done and built, and then you can paint it, do whatever you want with it. Those kits are great, but it's hard because for me, it's more of a mental thing of having these blocks, and just whatever it is, I tend to not be able to like work out for a bit. I tend to need to neglect getting to the bench. It doesn't mean I'm not interested in modeling anyway. I'll still look at what everyone else is doing. Like I'll talk to you guys all the time. Mm-hmm. I'll keep my eye out on new releases, all that stuff. I'm just not physically doing it. Mm-hmm. And then there's me hoping that enough motivation I pick up from what everyone else does is like, you know what, sod this, I need to get back to the bench and like do something, because the stuff you guys are doing is really good and I want some of that. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's one of those, if I'm not feeling it, don't do it. It will come back either through the love of seeing what you guys are doing, or just it'll come back on its own.
Yeah, you answered the question. You nailed it. Trust me. And we all have those things where we just, like you said, sometimes the best thing is just to step away and just keep yourself in the hobby, but step away. Wonder how John does 3-tone camo, and wonder how Scott does flawless prints and stuff like that. Then finally get that motivation and attack it again. So it's a coping mechanism, and that's what we're looking for. All right, Doug, what do you do?
Well, the first thing I would do if I really, really want to build, but I can't get myself motivated, is probably pull out a new Star Wars kit. Anything Bandai. But it's not just that. Sometimes I need to just make myself sit at the bench. I'll pull out a kit that I've been working on. It doesn't matter what it is. Sometimes if I actually sit down and start working, before I know it, I'm focused on working on it. And that's how the Tiger started becoming a thing. And I pulled it out. I was like, I don't know. But I just started doing things to it. And then it was really late at night, and I had no idea. I'd been working on it for a couple hours. I just went. So sometimes it's just a matter of making myself go, rather than a subject or anything. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, like you said, it just takes that jump start to just get everything flowing and get everything moving again. Yep. All right, Scott, you're up.
Maybe building a little bit on what Jensen said, but a slightly different angle. I don't really suffer from Mojo. I have a lot of talented friends on this call, let alone, things like, Rick's propaganda videos or Martin's videos. So, I literally am never really in a place where I don't feel like modeling. For me, the issue is getting the time to do it. And then I kind of make things hard for myself too, in that because I don't have a lot of time, I find myself probably starting too many things. And I don't have a shelf of doom, but I have a shelf of projects that need to actually get finished someday. And so, really, it's just a question of grabbing something and moving it down the line. But I'm constantly go to the local amps meeting, or look at John's progress on the 251, or look at what Jens is doing with his border models 190, or what Doug's been working on that tie interceptor. I mean, all of these things really inspire me, and so I don't really suffer from a lack of mojo, just mainly a lack of time.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can agree with you there. Sometimes it's just that time of the day just runs by too fast, and we just don't get there. Completely understandable. And JB, what do you do?
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo a lot of what's been said. Really, it just comes down to it's in its basic form. What do I enjoy doing? What can I do that's fun? And I'll pull on what Jensen said, where I'm working on this facade from AK right now, and it's pure painting joy. And I find that most of the time when I need to get the mojo flowing, the building is okay. I love slamming a Tamiya kit together. I think if I'm in the building mood, I definitely want something that's easy and can make a lot of progress on and show some victories. And I think that's probably why I like painting the most, to regain the mojo, because you really, really, really get to see progress pretty quickly. And that was the nice thing about this facade build, where the only prep I did was I added a little conduit box and some conduit for the hotel light. And that took 2 seconds. It's funny. I wanted to bring one to the hotel when I was gone this past week, and I was going to bring the garage, and then I'm like, I don't have an airbrush to do the chipping fluid and this and that. I'm like, let me look at this hotel thing. And I'm like, all right, the only thing I need to add is some conduit and a light box. So here I am. I have a 5 a.m. flight out of Denver. I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm in my room at like 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, what can I bring? So literally, I'm like, I'll bring this. So I grabbed a little conduit box out of the spares bin, and then I added some conduit, and I primed it. I primed it like 9:30 at night, set it out, let it dry, grabbed it at 3 a.m. and ran to the airport. And then when I got to the hotel, I pulled out my 7 colors, most of which came in the box. I had 3 brushes, and I find it just incredibly relaxing. And when I look at it today, it's like, damn, I made a lot of progress over like just 3 or 4 days of an hour to 2 hours a night in the hotel. And that's taken my time. I mean, I could have probably rushed this and got a lot further, but it took time to pick out bricks and the other features on the facade. So again, I think to regain some momentum and mojo, it's finding something that I can make progress on very, very rapidly and show something that can, really, again, just show progress, show some victories, and learn something too. I think that's probably one of the most important things too, is during this, I'm like, well, let's try this technique. Let's try this. What about these colors? Let's try this brush. And I found that during this, it's kind of exciting. You see it come together. You take progress shots throughout the way, and you're like, let's tweak it here. Let's tweak it there. And again, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. It's all about experimenting and learning. And that's what I find to get the mojo back. Because now I'm already thinking, I'm like, okay, I got the other facade. What am I going to do here? I learned this there. I had never really painted bricks before. And just with 2 simple colors. And I swear, yes, we're going to have a group build for the AK facades. I bought these before we were graciously provided them. And this is not just a marketing pitch. It is truly a pitch on, if you want to learn a specific technique, this will let you do that. I had never really painted bricks before. I had not a really clue on what colors to use. Now, Granite Night Shift and a few others, Rick included, show what colors you can use to achieve brick colors and whatnot in videos. But there was something about this set where they literally, these 2 colors, I'm going to read them out: medium flesh tone and medium rust, 2 colors that I would not associate with bricks. But through mixing them in different consistencies, and then also I'll add, I put a drop of black in one as well. You can use these 3 colors to have a multitude of brick colors. And this simple little book, these 3 simple paints, can really allow you to learn a lot in a very short amount of time. And I am confident now that I actually want to look at, okay, what do I have in my stash? I know I have some, not facades, but like diorama stuff. What are other brick things that I can use to use these paints and the techniques I've learned? So long story short, it's finding something that I can easily make progress and gain victories on, learn something, and then be able to apply it on something else. And I think I'll end with, I know it works when I'm inspired and incredibly motivated to go do something else. And in this case, it's that brick texture, and I can't wait to try it again. So if you want to learn, this is one simple product that will allow you to, jump into something that's new. And honestly, it has everything you need in terms of those basic foundational colors.
Yeah, that's 100% correct, John. That's great. And I really do appreciate that. That's what it is. And speaking of, the facades that we've all been talking about, I want to say that if you don't know already, the Plastic Posse is going to be doing the AK facades for a group build, generously donated by AK Interactive, helped through by Rick Lawler, who is a fantastic person himself. And, and I want to bring this up is that John just gave a great example. Myself, I've got one. I've got the hotel or bookstore, the bookstore one. It's, and John said he's going to do his as an old hobby store, which is great. I want to do one more as a bookstore itself. So I've been looking for boxes of books and stuff like that. And I love the fact that, like people have said already, is that it's an all-in-one box. It comes with everything you need. It comes with brushes. It comes with, what you need to do it. And like John was saying about the paints, you can mix and color the paints. You get a perfect facade. You might add something here or there. I've seen a couple that are on AK where they've added graffiti onto them, which looks really good, and stuff like that. And it's really, to me, it's such a good little idea to clean the palette and practice on something that you don't usually do, because it's put together for you already, basically. And you just come in and you start painting, which is another fantastic idea. And there's so much you could do with it. You can make a shadow box with these. You can do it just as a plane. You can add it to a diorama if you wanted to, a British truck driving down the road, post World War II or something like that. But there's so much you can do with these things. And I really do appreciate it. I want to get Scott's, and I want to get Doug's, and I want to get Rick's idea, how they think about it. What are they thinking? So Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have really highlighted sort of what I think is really exciting about this. So this podcast will drop on August 30th. We're just going to start September 1st. We'll create a group build on the site. Rick will be has been kind enough to be voluntold that he's joining us for this particular group build. So we're excited to have him. But we want to invite all of our listeners out there. If this is something that you guys would like to try, you can kind of maybe capture the spirit of what Rick taught a bunch of us at Nats with regards to let's build a base. Well, let's just do it. Well, these facades are, I think, kind of a similar concept. And so if you'd like to join along, you can just join the group build, post photos, and then we'll all post photos in the folders as well. And we hope to have you join us. But like these guys have said, it's really, really great. The AK Gen 3 paints that it comes with are really, really easy to use. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So anyway, Rick, maybe give us some of your thoughts on this.
Well, first off, I've got to say, you guys are jumping the gun. I'm so disappointed. Listen, guys, I was sent my facade, as one of my samples. Let's get this work out, Rick, from the mothership, in May or something like that. And then we started talking about putting this group build together. So I set mine in the closet and haven't touched it. Somewhere along the way, we decided to confirm this group build, and I receive a nice box of all these facades that I distribute to you folks, but I still haven't touched mine. I'm patiently waiting for the official go whistle, the starting gun. And now I'm being shown these examples on screen, JB and everybody else, that
busted.
I take him to my hotel room and I take him to the bathroom.
I got another one to start.
So, geez. Okay. So let's get that out of the way. Therapy done. We're ready to go. We're still friends. Well, first off, this, I got to say, I'm excited about this. Obviously, I've been wanting to get going on one of these since I first saw them early on. This is right up my alley, same as that rock thing I was talking about earlier. These are palette cleansers. Everybody's kind of already explained how everything's included. If you want to add more like JB did, you could add awnings to these things. You could do all sorts of things. You could do whatever. And you could be, and this is what I'm looking most forward to. And I think JB kind of encapsulated this when he was talking about, painting bricks, which kind of expanding his skill level base and his little sphere of good stuff he does and how that translates to other things. And this is a perfect example, again, of how to do something like that. I've got some ideas in my head of painting styles that I want to try to work with that are totally different than let's say, not necessarily realistic. I'm taking my influence from some other places and see if I could kind of expand my painting skills that way and do something a little bit different. So I'm looking forward to doing that. What's the worst case happens? I just give it another coat of primer and I just start again, so not that big of a deal. But I'm glad to be working on this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Scott, do you know how long we're going to let this run on the group build? I said September 1st start. Just want to get the word out to people. So like a 30-day thing?
Maybe let's go 60 days on it. Okay. People get busy. There's the Operation Overlord that's going on. People are still, there's still the big Telford show in the fall and a whole bunch of other regional shows that are going on. So yeah, let's call it 2 months. Does that sound good, Rick?
Yeah, that sounds really good. And that allows people, I've given a heads up on some sites and some of my friends that we're going to be working on this. I didn't have the start date yet, and I haven't started yet, JB. And but that allows everybody time to order in their kits as well. And at least on Patreon, I've given some links, at least domestically in the US, of some places they can do it. Worldwide, of course, you can go directly to the AK website. And I've heard great things about shipping. Oftentimes it's faster and even cheaper than going domestically. So that's a great place. Both versions are there. It's an easy search. Just look for Facades, AK Facades or something like that on their website and it'll pop up. As been talked about, the kits are fairly inclusive. I think there's 5 or 6 Gen 3 colors, a primer, 2 brushes, the facade itself, about a 8-10 page little instructional booklet that kind of gives you some examples on how to paint things. It's a pretty comprehensive little package, and I think people should enjoy this. And I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody ends up posting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna put somebody on the spot here, Cliff. After seeing your MAK entry, I mean, I would love to see you bring your level of creativity to one of these things. Is this something you might be interested in?
I've already thought of hashtag blame Benani across the wall, so yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I love it. One thing I'll add, Rick mentions the little books that came with them. I think that's one of the best parts too. We often see in modeling publications, it's like painting the owl or painting the horse, where, you go from a stick figure to a finished, well-shaded owl. And I can confidently say, these little books do a really good job. I think there's anywhere between, 12 and 13 steps for each one. And they do a good job not only showing you in photographs what the process is, but also some basic descriptions too. So I've actually followed it pretty much to the letter so far. For the brick one, I'll just say I'm on step 9. I know that doesn't mean much, but I've followed it to a T in terms of painting the bricks, weathering the facade with the streaking grime they provide. So after this dries, I might do a little bit of dry brushing, and then the last 3 steps on this are actually materials that aren't included. As Rick said, you get about probably 90% of what you need. And then the things that you need to bring in are, to be honest, if you're a average modeler, you probably have this stuff. And that's, your basic mud pigments and dirt pigments. And then in terms of like dust, any flesh tone, dust tone, buff tone will do to help pick out those, the masonry between the bricks. And then, to cap it off, some slimy grime. But, by the time this episode drops, mine should be complete. And I'll just share, I'm going to do a hobby shop. So I will label my boxes inside with like 1/35th scale tanks and airplanes, probably some other things I'll write on them. And then for the facade itself, I'm going to do on the ledge. I'm going to use some moss from Woodland Scenics. And then I've decided by the gutter or the drain pipe in the corner, I'm going to build a little bird's nest, I think, and try to put some eggs in it and then get some 35th scale. I'm either going to 3D print them or I'm headed to Colpar today. And if they have the pigeon set from Mini Art, I'm going to buy a couple of them and I'll put them on the ledge above the door. And then I might put some on the top and then, integrate some bird droppings and I don't know, just try to have fun with it. As Rick said, I think these are so cool. And, I think you can enter them at a show too, put them in miscellaneous. It's not about it's not about building, it's about finishing in my mind. And this is super cool. What I am going to look for as well, and if I find something, I'll let everyone know. I'll hit up the local Michaels or Hobby Lobby and try to find a shadow box size.
Yep.
That way, I'll hang it on my wall in the workshop. But again, these are just cool. And I'm truly saying that they're just so neat. You can get a primer coat. Literally, you don't need an airbrush for them either. if you don't have an airbrush, literally just rattle can it gray. They do give you primer, but again, if you don't have an airbrush to use, just rattle can it gray. And then I've painted it all by hand, and the Gen 3 paints cover really well. They're incredibly forgiving. Yeah, I'll stop talking because I feel like people are gonna be like, I was paid to say this, but I truly wasn't. I've just had that much fun using them, and I would highly recommend anybody along the way to do it. That said, if you want to join in the Facade group build and maybe you don't have the means to get one, feel free to carve stuff out of foam. That goes back to Rick's course that he taught at the IPMS Nationals, and there's plenty of examples online where you can get some insulation foam. Rick certainly walks through it. There's also Night Shift and a few others, but feel free to carve away. And then using acrylic paints, you should have no issue at all in terms of reactions. And then you can do that too. So plenty of options for people out there to join and learn a little bit. So I'll pass it back to Grant.
All right, that's great, JB. Thanks a lot. There's Madman Mike's another good guy that shows you how to a lot of carving. I just want to throw a spot out to him too. He does some great work. All right, so upcoming model shows. Scott, what do you got for us?
Yeah, thanks, Grant. Well, we've got a couple right away. Ventura County IPMS and IPMS 101 Wonders presents their very first annual WonderCon. That's going to be in Oxnard, California, the Murphy Auto Museum, September 9th. So if you're in that Southern California area, make sure you get out there. I think Grant's going to be there. So, he's a very attractive guy. You're going to want to go meet him, get an autograph, pictures with the kids, all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, but we do have a table this year. So we'll be selling, we will not selling. We'll be giving away stickers and a whole bunch of stuff. So come see me.
We got him counseling. He hasn't bitten anybody for like a year. So you should be good. Also on September 9th, we have the Boise IPMS Fall Show up in Boise, Idaho. JB and I will be there, as well as a bunch of my friends here in Utah. So anybody in that region, that's a great show, long-standing show. Brian Geiger and Jeremy Elliott and the guys up there, it's a great group. So if you can support them. We have the Central Arkansas Scale Modelers 22nd Annual Show. That's September 29th and 30th. In the Jacksonville Community Center, which is a few miles northeast of Little Rock. You go to that. You can look at seminars by Jim Rice, Rusty Nell, and our friend Ken Childress. So I think that sounds like a cool one. IPMS Orange Con in Buena Park, California. That's October 1st. We've got Pat Con, which is Sunday, October 1st at the Hudson Elks Lodge in Hudson, Massachusetts. And then we have PAX Con, aka Geek Fest. Hollywood Volunteer Fire Department, Hollywood, Maryland, on October 7th. That's their first ever show. So please show up and support them if you're in that area. We hope that goes really, really well for them. We have the IPMS Vancouver Fall Show. That's at the Bonsor Recreation Complex in Burnaby, British Columbia on October 7th.
Real quick, I think anybody going to that Vancouver show, a bunch of us from the Pacific Northwest, myself included, are going to be heading up to that show as well. So
awesome.
About 4 or 5 of us between Oregon and Washington heading up that direction.
Awesome, man. Be awesome. Sounds like you guys are going to have a really great time. Also on the 7th, we have the Reno IPMS High Roller Show. That's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can go to renohighrollers.com for more info on that. October 14th, we have IPMS Duneland 2023 show. You can contact John Fluck for more details, but that'll be at the Hobart Moose Lodge in Hobart, Indiana. We have CapCon at the Canadian War Museum in Ottawa on October 14th.
I want to give an extra plug for CapCon. If you're in the area, please go. The show will be great, but the museum is unbelievable. I had the luxury of visiting it about 10 years ago. They have a Panther tank and a bunch of other World War II armor. Beautiful location in downtown Ottawa. Highly, highly recommended. Definitely go to that show. Check out the museum, support the club. And I think Evan, Panzermeister 36 will be there, and looks to be an awesome show. So I wish I could go, bottom line.
Awesome. You can see all the details over at ipmsottawa.com. We have Scale Model Challenge in Eindhoven, across the pond there, October 14th and 15th. And a few of the posse will be there, as well as international celebrities such as the Sam Dwyer. Obviously, that's kind of one of the premier events in the world. So that'll be really, really great. Looking forward to seeing some reports from our guys from that show. We have the MMSI show in Chicago, in Schaumburg, Illinois. That's October 20th and 21st. Grant and I will be going to that. That's an amazing event. If you're in that area, I'd encourage you to go. Bay Colony Modelers Club presents BayCon 2023. That is Sunday, November 5th in Franklin, Massachusetts. And then, of course, Scale Model World in Telford, Shropshire, United Kingdom, November 11th and 12th. And our very own Mr. Jensen Taylor will be in attendance at that. So you'll want to go meet him.
I don't think he's going, Scott.
He's not going to go.
I know John Everett's going, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure.
I think we should just commit him.
Yeah.
Just make him go.
Out. He's going.
Make him going now.
You are going. We've told everyone now.
Show up at the table. Have a signed free hugs. I think you ought to be there. Okay. Well, we hope Jensen will be there.
We'll see. We'll see.
Scott, I want to go back real quick. I think there's an opportunity for the Bay Colony Modelers Club to just call it Bacon 2023 and just have the show themed around bacon. There's an opportunity there. I'm just saying.
Well, if you're talking about marketing, I think the demographic is right there. So
yes.
All right. Well, that's a pretty full calendar. Hopefully that's everything we've been sent. If you guys have additional shows or events you'd like us to talk about, please send them to us. If we've missed any, we apologize. We'll try and get them for you next time. But anyway, lots of events. Pretty much doesn't matter where you are. It looks like there's a great show or an event that you can attend. So get out there, go see your friends, and have a good time.
All right, everybody. Thanks, Scott. That was great. And like he said, there's a lot of great shows out there for everybody to attend. All right, we're going to go over to feedback from Doug. What do you got, Doug?
Well, we have a bunch this week, but I think we're pressed for time, so I'm gonna start with just a couple of short things. I want to thank everybody, first of all, in the posse for shouting out our spam when we get spammed, helping us shoot down these people that are trying to market posse stuff on our page and other things that isn't official. So we really appreciate it. So thanks, guys. Jake McKee wanted us to know that the guy that Evan won a raffle from was him. So that was Jake McKee. Lee Fogel, actually, we just kind of talked about this. You guys ever just sit and be, for lack of a better word, paralyzed at your bench? Well, Lee, yes, we have, and we've just discussed it. So awesome. David Johnson is going to be in San Antonio from New Zealand sometime probably in October, and he's looking for hobby shops. And maybe we can see if there's any posse members around there that want to show him around. Just a thought.
Yeah, make sure, David, make sure you check out Lionheart Hobby in Kyle. It's a little bit from San Antonio, but not that far at all. And David is a great guy, long-term listener, and obviously he was involved with Wingnut Wings. Really, really excellent modeler. So I hope he has a good time in Texas. Make sure whatever rental car you have has a great air conditioner in it.
It's going to be October, so it won't be as bad as August was. Anyway, and also make sure you go to Buc-ee's. Just walk through a Buc-ee's just once and have that experience. Real quick, this isn't real quick. Brian O'Donoghue from the UK he's just been listening to the podcast. He was building Matchbox as a kid. He had the multiple colors of plastic, and it was kind of what got him into the hobby. He goes to model shows to meet friends, especially Telford, when he goes home with a sore throat. And I understand that because we all had sore throats after every day at Nats. Yep. We talked and talked. It was wonderful. But time to catch up with friends from across the globe to see amazing models and look at the latest shiny things for us to buy. As a veteran, I always enjoy discussions about colors, as modelers often have fixed ideas of what a color should be that may not reflect the colors they used.
Amen, brother.
Anyway, he loves the pod, and he sends us his best wishes. That's what I'm going to share for today. There was a lot more that people sent, and our discussions on the Facebook page were wonderful. If you're not a member of our Facebook page, the Plastic Posse group page on Facebook, you really should be. Remember that you can send your feedback and suggestions to us via email at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com.
So I'm going to pass it over to Scott real quick, and he's going to talk to one of our special guests. So go ahead, Scott.
All right. Well, in the hot seat today, we got the lights turned on. Grant's holding the rubber hose. We have the one and only Cliff Herring. Cliff, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Thanks for having me. It is the hot seat. It's hot in Texas.
Yeah, man, that's for sure. We talked in our last episode sort of at length about your amazing Machine & Krieger kit and all of the Easter eggs. So I want to start this out with sort of a question for you. When I start a project, you sort of have all the modeling and the painting and finishing aspects of it. But I mean, what's it like incorporating then sort of another level of modeling and coming up with these ideas of Easter eggs and sort of planning, how that's going to look on your model?
In this case, it started at the beginning. I've done little Easter eggs on some other builds that were it's one or two, you don't really see them. But when this started, I thought it'd be really cool to do something because it was a Posse group build and incorporate Easter eggs that paid homage to you guys who do this every 2 weeks. And I really enjoy the podcast. I'm an old guy. I'm not the podcast generation. But when I started listening to it, I was like, man, this is awesome. So I wanted to give you guys some respect. And so before the build actually even really started, I just started writing things down. I think I sent you a picture of a Post-it note where I had written down where every state everyone was from. And I was like, well, I can just incorporate into the camo or something, except for Grant, who lives in California. And it's so weirdly shaped, but I was like, I'll just deal with that later. So it really started before I started gluing plastic together. I was going to make some notes and then notes from different episodes, and I was going to put that into the build. And this all exploded in my brain. It was going to be this diorama with all these different things in it. And then I forgot just how slow I build. So it ended up being just the mech suit. There was no diorama with thousands of Easter eggs because that's what was the original plan was. And I have stuff written down, but it started from the onset. It wasn't something where I started the project and then decided it was all part of the build.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, all the details, some of them were part of the construction, serial numbers and everything. And then obviously some of them were paint. I love the overlay of Orion and Virginia for TJ. I mean, just, we've talked about that, but Cliff, let's back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about, your modeling, kind of where did it start and what are the things that inspire you and what do you like to build?
It started as a kid. Always loved military stuff, G.I. Joe, the Army. It's why I went into the Army when I got older, but model as a kid and it's echoed in a lot of other people's stories, when I got older. High school, girls and cars and all those things, and then join the Army, and then you hit adulthood. And at some point I know a lot of guys come back to it later than life. It never really left me, which is kind of weird because whether I was playing golf or I played professional paintball for a while, if I was at a Barnes & Noble looking at a paintball magazine, I would slide over and pick up a modeling magazine. So it's always been there. And I think that's probably true for a lot of the guys who leave the hobby for a number of years and then eventually come back. For me, it never left me. I was always interested in it. It took until now to pick it back up.
I got to jump in real quick, Scott. Cliff, tangent time. Tell me about paintball. Tell me what gun you were running. And you got to share a little bit. It's been a long time since I played some paintball.
It's been a long time since I played, but I played on the professional circuit back in the early to mid 90s.
Dang.
And I was shooting an autococker.
Oh man, classic.
Yes. Yeah, shot an autococker, 1994 world champs.
Damn, son.
With the Houston Heat. Yeah. I actually have a flag. I have a flag over there hanging on the wall that belonged to the Ironmen of California. They were like just the Super Bowl champs of paintball back then, and we beat them in a tournament. So that's hanging up there. Wow. But yeah, it's like I said, I played golf for a number of years, and I always went back to the magazine rack and picked up a fine scale modeler or something, and just something kicked, and it was like, now it's time to get back into what you've loved your whole life.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in myself. I know you did the MAK, and I see the Boba Fett behind you, but what what do you do? Any other models? Are you strictly sci-fi, or do you jump around a little bit?
No, I call myself an armor guy, and I was in the infantry. You were a scout.
Yep.
But I love tanks. I've loved them since I was a kid. And when I started playing World of Tanks, that's what makes up half my stash. This Panther 2s and Waffentraggers and all this weird stuff you see. That kind of got me back into the hobby. But my last few builds have been sci-fi. I got an ATST over there. I got a speeder bike. And then the MAK kit, which is John Bonanni's fault. Blame Bonanni. He posted the sale on Sprue Brothers. I was like, oh, hey, that's one of those MAK kits. I got to get one of those. And then it showed up. My wife's like, you bought another one? And I was like, well, John Bonanni told me to buy it. So I bought it, and just so happened the group build was Machining Krieger. So it all worked out.
I guess I know Doug's chomping at the bit to talk Bandai Star Wars with you, but I think you and I have a lot in common. I say I'm an armor guy too, but really deep down inside, I'm really more of a science fiction guy, and I tend to love really subjects that blend the line between those two genres. That's really great stuff.
It's killing me because Ahsoka just came out too, so I really want to build a tank, but now I want to build a spaceship. I want to build something Star Wars again. It's killing me.
Know that feeling.
Go ahead, guys.
Sorry. Yeah, go. We talked about, your military career. You said you were in the infantry. Just a personal question. Where'd you serve at?
I served in Korea for a year, and then I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Yeah, so was I. I went to airborne school. Right. I wanted to go to Ranger school. And they told us, like, well, when you get to airborne school, just tell them you want to be a Ranger and they'll take you. And throughout my Army career, every time I asked for something, it was like, well, sure, we can do it as long as you're not going to Korea. So going to Korea kept me from going to Ranger school. And then I did my year there. And it was actually some pretty high speed stuff over there. But when I got to Fort Polk, we went from the brand new winter gear and the Gore-Tex to not Gore-Tex. We went from M16A2s to M16A1s and 113s. I was like, I built these as a kid. What's going on? But, we ended up going to Panama as part of 5th ID. So it wasn't all bad, but that was my career. Was the first, the 506th in Korea, and then the 5th ID in Louisiana.
1506, is that Rakkasans or?
No, that's the Kurhis.
Kurhis, that's right. Okay,
that's sorry. The same battalion as Band of Brothers.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Sorry. I did a year in Korea myself. I went to Camp Casey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got lucky. I really did.
You did. I was at Greaves. Greaves on the Z, yeah.
Yeah, you were on the DMZ then.
Yes, sir.
You were way up north. That's great.
North of the river, yes.
Yeah. First out front, always, kind of stuff out there. But we talked about we've tasted a lot of the same dust. Let's just put it that way. Airborne school, Korea, and all those kind of stuff. Been to Louisiana a couple times, but for JRTC, but not a station there. So I definitely feel sorry for people that have been stationed there. I know some people love it, but I don't know. Those people are probably the same people that build crazy stuff too. But it's crazy. Oh, I don't know either. It's crazy there. But I'm sorry, we got off track here. We always ask this question for everybody. What is your magnus opus build? If you could do anything, you had all the time in the world and you had no financial issues and you could build whatever you want, what would that be?
It would probably be the perfect gray Millennium Falcon. One of those would be the Edelweiss. It's a fantasy tank. And I have that kit. I picked it up a couple of years ago on eBay.
Oh, wow.
So I have it, and it's a lot of masking, and I just keep looking at it going, yeah, not today. But the perfect grade Millennium Falcon would probably be my magnus opus build.
Yeah, I understand that. That's up there on my list too.
And take me 10 years to do so.
Yeah.
You have one, Cliff? Oh, Doug.
No, I don't.
Doug's throwing down now.
Doug's just throwing it out there, showing off his. So
one of his two that he has.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that he's bragging at all, but he's not bragging at all.
Yes.
Cliff, I want to talk about the Posse group. We have a bunch of incredible modelers in there and everything, but man, you are always kind of right in the middle of things. You're always posting really inspiring pictures of your own builds, commenting on everything. I mean, you've really kind of become a big part of that community. How do you feel about that community, and what motivates you to be such a big part of it?
Well, you guys, for one, you guys have never seen me in traffic. I am a completely different person. But with the Posse, it's in middle school, I modeled with my best friend. We are best friends to this day. I have a copy of Shep Payne's How to Build Dioramas that he bought me after I got back into it. We did a history fair project in junior high on Operation Valkyrie, the assassination attempt on Hitler's life. That picture hangs over there around the corner. So I missed that camaraderie. And Houston's a big city. The IPMS local meetings, it's over an hour away. And the traffic in the town is just, it's crazy. We're a 1-car family. So I don't get that camaraderie that I get when I was playing paintball or I had a foursome playing golf. And I can get that through the Posse. It's one of the things that I love the most about it. Again, hashtag blame Bonani. It doesn't take 2 seconds to be positive. It doesn't take 2 seconds to hit a like button and tell somebody, hey, man, that looks great. And it doesn't take 2 seconds to look at something like Spud Murphy's Sherman and go, oh my God, I have a lot of work to do.
Oh yeah. Freaking baseball bat alone.
For sure. Yeah.
I love the mitt. I love the mitt and the ball. It's just, it's awesome. It doesn't take 2 seconds out of your day to look at somebody's work and go, hey man, you're doing a great job. And just be a better person.
Yeah. I mean, well said. I mean, that's really kind of what it's about, doesn't matter if you're in Iowa or Florida or someplace in England, and it doesn't matter. Jensen, nudge. We all share this love of the hobby, and I think that's what makes it work. And then you add in the individual personalities and the modeling, and see what people bring to the table. I don't know if you saw pictures of the other entrants in the group build, but having your suit there, and then some of the other work that we had, it's just really amazing to see what sort of, I guess, different spin everybody brings on into their builds and shares that with everybody.
Everyone's own interpretation. I actually have Martin Drayton's diorama hanging on my shelf next to my ammo night, which is totally awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, just that when you can't be with other people, I mean, Martin models in a hotel room. When you can't be with other people, this kind of brings everybody together. And that was really the big reason why I jumped in on the group build. And it's a big reason why I'm a part of the Posse. It's a lot of fun, and it connects you with a lot of people, and it just adds to the joy we get from the hobby.
I'll say something here, Cliff. We've never met in person. Unfortunately, you were sick, but I did get to see your piece on the table there at the Nationals, and of course it stood out and everything. And I'd heard about it before going in and watched a little bit of the posting that you had done, pre-hand, the paint work and asking people's questions here and there and whatever. But as we've been working on this conversation, this is kind of a technical thing too, but it has to do with kind of, I think, your professionalism, for lack of a better word, in terms of how you approach it. I'm going through your Facebook page as the discussion's going on in the background. I have to say, I am absolutely impressed at your presentation on how you post your works, your step-by-steps. I did the hands on this stay. I particularly like, because I saw your piece in person, the photograph you did with all the Easter eggs actually detailed out where they are.
The map.
The map. So helpful. It makes me wish I could go back and see your piece again on the table, because I know I missed nearly all of them, because it's busy. You're going through quick and you got a table full of them. But just as somebody who's a consumer of great modeling and go through the podcast or on the Facebook page and such on the Posse, I really do appreciate that level of attention you take in terms of presenting your work in such a great way. And I know that for me, it's inspiring to see good work presented nicely. And I think it makes it much more clear to people to see what you're doing and how you are doing it. And it's instructive to a lot of people as well. So I just want to give you kind of a thumbs up kudos for that, because that's a step beyond that a lot of people don't take. And you do.
I really appreciate that. And the fact that I build so slow gives me the time to do those things.
Well, there you go. You got the Rick stamp of approval, Cliff. There, that's the big one right there.
Yeah, that means a lot. Thank you,
the
Rick.
funny thing about that is that it goes back to our prior conversation on those moments when I don't feel like building, and maybe Cliff, you're in the same ballpark. It's like, well, I can go edit photographs or something, do something different that's still model related, but it has to get done at some point. I'll sit down, put the TV on or whatever, and just do some editing and come up with some different ideas, like I said, and you're still modeling, you're still making work happen, but it's not the thing that's right now your roadblock. It's a different release.
You're in the neighborhood. Yeah.
So anyway, just wanted to throw my 2 cents out there.
Thank you so much.
Hey, I really do appreciate that, Rick. That was super nice, man. And like you said, you just got the Rick Lawler stamp of approval, Cliff. So you're doing good.
No, just maybe what's next for you and over the next few months. What are some projects that you've got either started or maybe you're working on the planning for?
I pulled out the Amusing Hobby Panther 2 and the Ryefield Models Panther F, and was really going to start on one of those. And like I said, you guys announced the group build for next year's Nats, and I'm not a huge fan of the Sherman, But I'm like, I really want to be a part of this, because being a part of it for the last group, it was so much fun. Then I got online, started looking for inflatable tanks, because I think that would be really awesome as a DJ project.
Oh,
just go with that. So I'm already thinking in my head what I can do next.
Cliff, there's also more. I mean, I'm not an Allied expert, but there's certainly more than Shermans you can build too for D-Day.
Yeah, I got to look around. It's just like when the first thing that pops in your head, I'm like, well, can I build a motorcycle? Can I build a Sherman or a Sherman or a Sherman?
I love the idea of an inflatable tank, though. That makes me want to look on cults to see if there's any CAD stuff out there for them.
Dug around, I didn't find anything, but I didn't dig deep. So I'm going to keep looking, because I thought that would be an awesome little project for the D-Day 80th anniversary.
Yeah, if you had a big enough build plate, you could print one hollow in 35th, I bet, pretty easily.
Yeah. Definitely. That's a great idea. And you can also think about there's ducks there, the duck with GMCs, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Half tracks. There were Stewarts there, M5s.
Did the ugliest vehicle on the planet make it? The Weasel? Was it part of?
Yes, it was. You need to stop your bad mouthing right now.
Yes, start nothing. There won't be nothing.
No, there won't be no fun now.
So, Cliff,
was definitely.
I got a question for you. Looking at the paint rack behind you, I think it's pretty obvious what you enjoy painting with most. Maybe tell our listeners, just talk about your preferred paint, because I'll be honest, I think it's a little different than most of us, what we usually talk about. So curious to hear your perspective and what makes you enjoy it so much.
This was a thing about when I got back into the hobby. When I painted as a kid, I used Model Master enamels. That's all I used. And I want to say, to me, it was just hitting the States back then. And I tried to paint that with a brush, and it didn't work. So it gave me a kind of a bad taste in my mouth for it. I've since grown up and I know better. When I got back into it, I started like there was like 20 different paint brands. And I'm like, what do I use? And everybody had a different opinion on how to thin it, how to use it, what to thin it with. And that was just like way too much information for me. So I am a Mission Models guy, and I love the fact that it's 10 drops of paint and it's 2 drops of thinner. And if you want to use the polyurethane, you put 1 or 2 drops of that stuff in and you go. And for me, it's that simple. It really is. Mike Rinaldi uses it, and he talks about the erasability of it. And if you spray it, and just like any other water-based acrylic, if you spray it in thin, wet coats, the adhesion is pretty darn good. You see guys online and they have problems with it, and you don't know what they're doing. But a lot of times I see guys are spraying it on dry. And if it scratches off, the paint's bad. The paint's not bad. It's what I love. And some people say that it's complicated. And for me, I use it because it is simple. It is literally 10-3-2. 10 paint, 2 to 3 thinner, 2 poly, and you're painting. And you can adjust from there. And that's why I like it.
Well, it's good that you got a process. You got a product that works. And I think for all of us, I think that's the key. If you can get a product that and you're familiar with, and you get repeatable results from it, what more could you ask for?
Repeatability, yes.
I think I see some other brands behind you. It looks like you're a VMS junkie as well.
Yeah, I like the VMS stuff. Yeah, I haven't used half of that stuff yet, really, but their clear coats are awesome. They are awesome. Their CA glues are awesome. Their retarders are awesome. I'm a huge fan of their products as well.
Yeah, for sure. And then I also got to call out, since your rack is right behind you, the classic Wilder paints.
Yeah, I had to totally ditch all my nitro line enamels. They dried up on me. That's how slow I build. That is how slow I build. I go to pull up a filter and I'm like, oh, it's dry, but it's only 2 years old. Yeah. But it was tough to kind of see him go, because I was a real big fan of his products.
Yeah.
But you got to do what's best for you.
Exactly.
And while we're creeping on your bench, we got a little Boba Fett action back there.
Man, I got Boba Fett action. I got a phone holder and a little stitch that I'm working on for my wife, and I got a snow speeder over there on my paintbrush rack. And yeah, I'm an armor builder.
There
I don't know
go.
if you guys
There
can
you
see
go.
this up here, but
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah, you're an
nice.
armor builder.
yeah, my Star Wars stuff. And
Oh yeah, lots of olive drab on that bench.
All right, that's great, Cliff. We really appreciate you joining us today, and it's been a fun time talking to you. And like I said, it's being a veteran and you're a veteran, I really appreciate your service. And, I'm glad that you can help us and we'll help you. And we're always there for you guys.
Always.
All right. Thanks, man.
Grant, before we cut it off, Cliff, all of us said this before we left, but one of the only things we left unresolved after Texas Nats was we didn't get to meet you and shake your hand. We got to get that on our to-do list.
Huge bummer.
Yep.
Did you guys get your beer at the barbecue?
Oh, yes, we did. Thank you. Yes, we did. Yes. So, Matt,
JB drank it all.
Yeah, well, Matt got myself and TJ a beer. So yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
Thank you for reminding me. I appreciate that.
$30 to go to waste. So.
Man,
John, I gotta ask you, what did you think of the funfetti?
On the suit?
Yes.
It's badass, man. Jeez. Like that's what I'm talking about. I think we can definitively say on this show that you're the only modeler on the planet that has integrated some sort of baked good into the camouflage pattern of not only any model, but a sci-fi like you have set the standard and have established yourself as truly a unique individual. I think that's, maybe this is what we can start. When we look at Guinness Book of World Records, we'll start the Posse Book of World Modeling Records. You are the first and only for not only Easter eggs, but baked goods, states as well integrated into the camouflage pattern. Postal codes, white crayons, literally everything. And you left out Crayola, so there's no copyright issues
That's
there.
Right.
Exactly.
I have to throw this in there. The snake that you threw on there looks exactly like my favorite snake in the world, which is the bull snake.
Your Facebook
so
page.
It was perfect.
Yeah, I stalked your Facebook page for some pictures, and then I think I freaked Jensen out when I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, what's your area code?
What's your address? Where do you live?
Where do you live?"
He lives in Preston.
You read it on Facebook Messenger as why, but you hear it in your head as why.
I'm right
JB
outside
likes
your
to
door.
call it Depreston.
Hey man, I found a book on it.
a book on Preston buses on the other side of the world in Denver.
This is what made it a lot of fun to do. This right here is just
absolutely. I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, this hobby is fun anyway, but you've taken that fun up about 3 full notches here. I do have to ask though, this model, are you protecting it adequately? Is it in a fireproof safe of some kind? Are we making sure that it's going to be, safety is going to be ongoing?
It's sitting up there next to Martin's Groberhund, so it's not in a case, but it's safe. No cats in this room.
There you
I'm good.
That's good.
I think, the favorite part about the whole thing, Cliff, was as the buildup was going, there's Easter eggs all over it, but you would also, what am I looking for here? The right word. You'd tease us online. You'd post just a piece here and there. And it was really cool. And I love the graphic that you made that calls out all the little Easter eggs, because I actually think I missed a few of them throughout the build-up. So I was like, dang, man, he went all out. So I think the Posse definitely owes you one. And I mean, if at all possible, if you could try to make it to Madison, or to be honest, a lot of us are going to be at AMPS as well.
Gonna try to make it to Wisconsin, and maybe in January when Winter Blitz comes around to College Station at the Museum of the American GI. I think you guys saw that last year. If it's in anybody's schedule, maybe a couple of guys could come down for that. That would be awesome.
Where does one fly into if I was going to that show?
I will find out for you.
Okay.
It's College Station. It's a college town, so there's got to be an airport nearby.
Okay.
But that's next January, and that's going to be a neat little show. The museum is just worth it in it of itself.
All right, I'm in. I I see round trip flights from Denver for $250.
It takes JB no convincing.
It's just like,
There's gonna be tanks. We're gonna have tanks.
So
real
there's a new show in. Oh, so I can get a flight there.
Well, that's the benefit of living in Denver. You can literally fly anywhere in the States for under $300.
I don't know if JB knows. He almost got the Boom logo on the shoulder pauldron instead of Funfetti.
Oh man! Oh man!
Yeah, see, that could have gone at the Boom headquarters then. Oh,
It was just the whole copyright. That was like, I don't know if he wants that associated. And so I was talking to TJ, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll just do Funfetti. And I think that kind of like he was like,
oh, Funfetti. That's peak Easter egg. And maybe I feel like a group build before we go to Madison or an initiative is maybe throw an Easter egg out there for you in one of our builds, and all of us can do that. That'd be kind of
cool.
So we'll pick up a Cliffism. And
Jensen right now is rubbing his hands together. So what's your address?
He's already looked at his Twitter handle and dark web presence. So
just paint fire and call it Texas, and you'll be good.
Seriously.
Knowing that you play paintball and golf, we can definitely do something there.
Yeah.
Well, I know you have the greatest taste in dogs. So there's that.
All 6 of them. I cannot believe they haven't barked yet.
Oh, you have 6 dogs.
6 dogs.
Yeah, that's my wife right there. But they're all rescues, so
good.
Can't complain.
What breed?
We have 2 Frenchies. We have an American Pit, American Bulldog mix. We have an American Bulldog, American Boxer mix, and then we have 2 English Bulldogs.
Oh, wow.
Man.
Yes.
Awesome.
Just
there you go.
Oh, they're the greatest dogs ever.
So I think Jensen just found his, occupation to get a green card in the United States. He can be your dog sitter.
Become a dog.
Yeah, we love the dogs, man. The dogs are awesome, except for the dog hair on my bench.
And how many cats do you have? Oh, okay. I thought I heard a cat earlier.
Now, my sister-in-law who stays with us, she has 2, so we have cats in the house.
Okay.
But we're
nice.
We're not gonna. Yeah, we have cats, but they're not our cats.
Okay.
Cats not allowed in Cliff's area, though.
No.
Ask TJ why that is.
Yeah, that's right.
Seriously.
Yeah,
there's
a Sherman out there that understands it real closely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bad.
All right. Well, thank you, Cliff. That was a lot of fun getting to know you better. I can't wait to see what becomes of this little project. It's awesome. You're a dog guy too. Bonus points for that. But anyway, in all seriousness, joking aside, fantastic creativity on your suit. Thank you for participating. Thanks for being a cornerstone member of the community. I mean, it's guys like you that make it happen, and we really appreciate you. Anyway, let's I think it's time for the interview, Grant. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea, Scott. All right. Yeah. This time we've got Lincoln Wright. You all remember Lincoln Wright. He's been on the show a couple times. He's done a couple great books. He did the Mark 44 book, and he has a brand new book that's about ready to come out the next couple of weeks. By the time this episode comes out, it might already be out. But Lincoln's a great friend. And I just want to say, I'm sorry I missed the interview myself, but from what I understand, it was a great time.
So, Link, how have you been?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me back on the show.
Absolutely. We've all been talking about it. Yes, definitely. Grant's going to be very, very disappointed he couldn't meet this. I guess apparently Mother Nature felt like it was important to hit California with a hurricane, tropical storm today. So
I saw the news for that. At first, Grant reached out and made mention of this, and I hadn't been up to speed on the news yet. And then when I saw it, it's a bit more than a light storm, isn't it? It looks like they're really, really going to cop it. I hope they're okay.
Yeah, they're saying on the news they're going to get between, in some places down there, they're going to get between 1 and 2 years worth of moisture in 36 hours.
Oh, wow. I hope Grant has enough models to get through this.
Might be a little hard because I think he's lost power already. So yeah. I'll have to do some modeling by candlelight.
You know we're going to get those shots. Now, I hope this is seen in good jest, but I want those shots where he's got the headlamp on and the headlamp is illuminating through the close-up optics so that he can still get work done. We still want you to be productive, Grant.
That's right. No excuses, man. We'll get a photo of him with his headlamp and an X-Acto in a little rubber raft out in his backyard.
Isn't this kind of a best time to be doing post-apocalyptic style weathering and groundwork as well? I mean, it'd be really getting into that vibe, right? I suspect we'll see a lot of sandbagging in the next diorama.
Bringing very, very realistic weathering to your model.
Yeah.
I know it's all in jest, but hopefully everything's okay, Grant. And hopefully you appreciate a little bit of the gallows humor, which I know you do. So
that's right. Stay dry, Grant. That's important. Stay dry. So Link, how are things down under? It's been a little while since we've had you on the show.
Yes, I'm sorry it takes me too long between books to be interesting enough to get on the show. So I've been very, very busy and very well, thank you.
No,
I'm lying when I say I've been very well because you saw what happened.
Yeah. That's I'm glad you brought out the elephant in the room. So we've turned the light on. So for all those friends and fans of yours out there, how are you feeling? How are things going for you right now?
I'm so happy that I can answer that question without dribbling on myself too much. Despite how dark that sounds, it really did happen. I presented to the ER with blood pressure of 220, 221, and they congratulated me on it, and they let me know that I suffered a couple of light strokes. But I'm okay. So thank goodness. There was enough left in the tank for me to recover. And I guess we're about 8 months since it all happened. I'm feeling much better. Thank goodness. I'm really grateful that I'm still here and I've basically been able to bounce back. I'm good enough to be on the show again. There we are.
That's good. We're really, really glad to hear it. And of course, I'm sure your wife and your daughter are very, very pleased as well.
It really brings things into perspective for you, doesn't it? We're here for others, aren't we? So we've really got to do our best for them. And that includes not dying.
That's right. We'd hate to get to the afterlife and say, Link, you had one job, man.
Yeah. Friends and the community was great. I had a lot of I had a lot of things to reply to, despite being in not a great way. So that was the irony. But I'm really appreciative of it. Thank you very much for it.
Yeah, well, we're just glad.
My new book doesn't suck because of that. It's actually it's better than the other one. That's why I got TJ to do it.
Well, before we move on to the next book, let's talk about that first book because beautiful book, and if I'm not mistaken, a sellout for you.
Yeah, as always, I did it all wrong and did not make enough. But it sold out. It sold super well. The book went very well, and yes, it was a sellout. We've reached that wonderful moment where people are telling me that they regret not buying the first one. And I don't know if this is cruel, but it's like, yes. It's like an Emperor Palpatine moment, isn't it? Yes, it was good. There is regret in the universe. I hope that came across as funny. I'm trying to be entertaining. It was meant to be funny.
That's it. That's a good problem to have. As someone who has the book, I'm very fortunate that I have it because it is amazing. I had some friends over before we went to the IPMS Nationals a couple weeks ago, and I think at least one or two of them had not seen the book in person yet. So I was like, okay, you're in luck. Come down to the basement and peruse to your heart's content. So of course they did, and it was very well received as it should be because it's fantastic. So
this is one of the challenges with doing it's like doing bespoke batch ice cream, isn't it? You can only make so much, and you don't know how much you're going to sell. So it's not a like a common, always available type of product.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are some significant challenges with that. Having said this, though, based on the comments, the number of comments coming back, I am looking at perhaps doing a kind of a second edition take on it, because there's a couple of models that don't feature in the first one, and I have them, so that could happen.
Well, that's good news for the people that didn't get the first one. So you mentioned comments, and before I kind of hand the reins over to TJ to talk to you about the new book, with regards to the feedback that you received, what did you learn after doing the first book? Like, what did you feel like you really, really hit a home run, American sports, terminology here? What did you feel like you really got right? And maybe what are some things that you found yourself maybe wanting to tweak for this second project?
Sure thing. That's a good one. Despite my accent, I grew up very US centric, by the way. So I actually played baseball, and being a Westerner in Japan, you're actually US by default, despite not having the passport that comes with it. So just wanted to let folks know that, because yes, I'm a foreigner, but I'm a very close and supportive foreigner. Lessons learned from the book were many. And this is it's a very astute question. Thank you very much, because it's a lot like communicating with a lander on Mars or Pluto, because the feedback loop is so long between planning something, working on it, and then letting it go wild to reach your customers, the public. So the balance was very good, was one of the things that came back. But I learned that that was a really good format for putting together a guidebook for a particular model. That one was very clear to me, that I'd happened to stumble across what was a very good balance between the modeling content, the how-to, the lore, and the gallery volume. Is that a good enough lesson to learn from the first one? The first one was it's nice and concise. The spread of content that I worked on turned out to be quite good. So, but one of the lessons I did learn from it happened with the previous book, because FAQ was being released as we were working on Mark 44. So I learned the idea that I really wanted to have friends involved, because that was one of the coolest parts of FAQ, was having other people featured and being able to talk with them about it. So that was really cool. So one of the big goals for Lunar Combat was to include other artists. A slightly different concept. Did I summarize that well enough for you? Mark 44 turned out to be a good guide. The balance of content was good.
Yeah, I really like that. And I
was lonely.
Well, I mean, we're joking around about it, but I mean, collaboration is something that I think for TJ and I is something that we really truly value, and we get inspiration from each other. We have different ways of doing things. And, particularly when you're working with people the caliber that you worked with on FAQ and the Mark 44, I can see why that was so important to you.
Yeah, because there still was collaboration. I laugh about being lonely. To start off that one, having Max Watanabe involved was a fantastic, I guess, gift. So yes, having that collaboration was wonderful, and I very inspiring. Got to learn a lot from it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well,
yes. Interestingly, I stopped talking. That was weird, wasn't it? That was weird.
It's a little more challenging because I think you can see us. I'm assuming you can see us, but we can't see you. Sir. So we're like, is he done? Is he done?
I'm very sorry. Should I get the camera? I don't know why the camera hasn't switched on for you. My bad.
If you can. If not, it's no big deal. We want to see your handsome face, Link. Come on.
Just sliding pants on right now. Whew, there we go.
There we go.
I was Donald ducking it. There you go. I'm up to speed on SNL.
TJ, well, why don't you let's start talking about the new book.
Well, since I mean, since you're forcing me to do it, we might as well. So Link, you have a new book, or I almost can say we have a new book.
Go on, do it.
It's your book. I'm just along for the ride.
Own it, TJ. Own it, dude.
But that is due out soon. What is it called, and what is it about?
Oh, come on, man! Don't
I know, but
not
everyone does know.
So, as TJ full well knows, because dude, you worked on it. How long ago was that? I'm sorry, I've ruined the intro, haven't I? But you've been working on it for TJ's working on Secret Squirrel projects as well. There, I said it. He knows a lot of what's happening behind the scenes. But our new book is called Lunar Combat. And I prepared for today, except for being able to read my own tagline. Following the acclaimed Volume 1, Lincoln Wright and friends shared their lunar combat inspired works, special operations across the lunar orbit.
Yes, for the uninitiated, part of the lore of Machine & Krieger takes place on the moon, because it is the far future. There is a lunar base and a whole lunar operation. If you have any of the lunar models, it kind of like talks about that kind of stuff, like on the back, roughly translated into passable English, for the most part. And
some of them were mine. They were great English.
It gets the point across. And of course now, because you can just pick up your phone and use the translation app. That's what I do with like the color cards if I want to get a backstory, which funnily enough is the Lunagans that I painted, built and painted for the book. I painted it that way because I translated the little blurb on the combat card, and because most Lunaganses are not tan, and I think the blurb said something in Japanese, something along the lines of they tried to paint it an anti-radiate or anti-heat color paint, and that's why this is the only tan one that they have. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's neat, because I didn't want to do gray because everyone does gray, so I'll do tan.
It was fantastic to see how TJ approached his project, and it turned out quite canon, and he did such a wonderful service, almost homage, but it was a fantastic service for the genre, despite not being tasked with it. He didn't say, hey, dude, try to do something really canon and legit. He said, please do what you feel is best. And it turned out spectacularly well. So in writing up and using some of the content that TJ sent through, I was so pleased and impressed with that effort. I mean, we've not been able to actually speak about this yet, but it's super well done. And you've seen some of the test shots, right? It turned out
I have
amazingly well. Fantastic.
And I have to confess, and my friends can back me up. When you sent me the first test shot, I think it was maybe just of the chapter cover with a close up, I think on the back of the Gans. And I saw you sent it to me, and I was laying in bed, and I was like, oh my God. And, I texted my friends in a group chat, and I was like, look at this. I was like,
oh, cool.
I was like, I have tears in my eyes right now. I'm not full on crying, like that, like a little bit of wetness. That's like right under here.
Right.
I had that, and I was just like, that's cool. And look, I've been in magazines that they're great. I like seeing my work in print, but knowing that's in a book, like a legit book, and as a book collector myself for scale modeling books, it was just, I mean, it's a literal dream come true. It was just one of the coolest things.
It's my honor. It's my honor to have this included. You've done TJ, you've done a really special job. I actually have quite a bit to share about that one. I'm hoping I can explain it well in a concise manner for the show, because it's quite a new moment. It's like a new step for Machine & Krieger, and I'm really happy to have brought it in for like Yokoyama-san and the folks who started it. I think this is a fantastic step for them as well. And for all of us, for the genre at large, which we're kind of representing here.
Yeah, I mean, it's an honor to be part of that, because, as you know, I love the genre, and I think I've been on record more than once saying it's legitimately my favorite genre to model. And I'm an old school, not that old, but originally a figure painter, mostly an armor guy. But I know when I work on Machine & Krieger, I know what to do. It is weird because it's kind of hard to know what to do, because there's not really quote unquote rules, but I feel like I can express myself better working on something Machine & Krieger than I can working on a Sherman, which I love. And I love doing that.
You're saying it perfectly. DJ, because you're exactly right. You feel it and you love it. Those things matter because that's why it's different. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to make it a comparative thing because I feel all modeling's awesome. I mean, we're making the coolest miniature scale toys of stuff that's pretty cool. But this one is particularly interesting because it's the way it was made makes it a little different. I thought I knew a lot about the genre before, if we call it a genre. I thought I knew a lot about it before, but with each book, because of the thought that needs to go into it to make it cool, I end up relearning and learning things that are different at quite a deep level that I didn't have before. That was one of the little excerpts that we put into the beginning of each chapter that helped to summarize and show like the main thought of what's coming up in that section. They're extremely illuminating, and it was exactly that. It was the idea that they're not really scale models. They're one-to-one replicas of what Yokoyama-san once upon a time scratch built made, which is kind of cool. I mean, Star Wars is like that too, right? That if we have access to like a studio scale model, they're quite real, aren't they? Because Star Wars was made like that.
Yeah.
Am I making
no.
sense or am I blathering?
No. I don't.
It does.
Yeah. Because you're right. Because I have a bunch of Machine and Krieger books, and they have the old Hobby Japan, and I have the Hobby Japan collections and all that stuff. So you see like the original ones from the 1980s, the ones that were made, and that's like those are the real thing. To me, like that's it. That's the thing. Like, it's not. Yeah, it's a model, but it's not a model of something that doesn't exist. Because to me, it does exist. Because I mean, they do, or they did at one point. I hope that a lot of them are still around somewhere. You would know better than me, but I know a lot of those models were made 40 years ago, so they might have been lost to time. I hope not, but yeah, I would agree with what you're saying. That's a good way to look at it. I think.
Thank you, TJ. To reassure you, yes, they exist. They've got like a little warehouse storage thing, and all of the original stuff is in there, and they get taken out and worked on to use for photo shoots and stuff like that.
That's cool.
And it is really interesting too, because some of them you realize they pull it out. What's that? One of the ones that really gave me the concept was there's a thing called a sternale, and it's a Austral Democratic Republic SDR spaceship, like a combat vessel, frigate, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know a lot about ships, but and it's like it's pretty big, and it's famously 1/35 scale. You just know they made something cool, and then said, "Yeah, it's 1/35 because tanks and about yay." Because I mean, like the Sulaco, for just as another a weird tangent. The Sulaco model they must have made for Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What scale was that?
I have no clue, but
I wonder.
That's one of the all-time great sci-fi ship designs. It's one of my favorites. It's so cool.
I guarantee you, when they built it, though, I wonder if they knew that they were okay. This is 1/100 or 1/35 or 1/25, whatever it was. I wonder if they knew that at time of start building, or it was built first and then they eyeballed it and said, yeah, this would work at X scale.
I think in that generation, that's a really, really good point that you're bringing up. And I hadn't really thought about Machine and Krieger in sort of that vein. But when it comes to creating a genre, TJ has talked on our podcast several times sort of about Star Wars modelers, to go back to your example. Yes. You have guys that kind of want to model an X-Wing as if that X-Wing exists, like if it's an airplane or a tank, right? Sort of in a real world somewhere. And then you have guys that want to model that studio scale prop.
Yes.
And I think based on the generation of when the Machine and Krieger and Aliens and Star Wars, I think, model making was moving by leaps and bounds. And then, like you said, they were sort of plugging scales and things like that into it. And then later on that became canon. But that's a really interesting viewpoint.
Yes, thank you, because they're very much connected. Machine and Krieger came from Star Wars, would be one of the primary ones. But of course, the guys working on it were very much inspired by it was a heyday of that kind of creation in Japan, but it was also, they were very much inspired by what was happening in the US, and what would have been happening in Europe and in Britain because of, like the Jerry Anderson models that were being made. That would be Thunderbirds.
Yeah, Thunderbirds, yeah.
A bunch of the old shows like UFO, Space 1999, Stanley Kubrick's work. But then the US side was producing Star Trek, Star Wars, some wonderful models on that side as well. So they were very much inspiration, formulative for the folks making Maschinen Krieger. And I'm so happy and pleased to be able to bring it back to the US via TJ. And of course, we've got other modeling masters out there doing it, like our friend Brian Kruger, for example. Yeah, Brian, the hilarious Brian Kruger. He cracks me up with the stuff he shares. You guys obviously saw I wish I could have been there to see it. Brian talking about the history of SF3D and Maschinen Krieger and Space Nazis. That must have been hilarious and very informative as well.
It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah. So yes, there's a lot to it. And I feel we're probably a lot more interconnected than maybe first apparent. Maschinen Krieger might look a little alien to folks who are used to their more Western style sci-fi, but it is actually very connected, and they very much took from it. Yokoyama-san's a big fan of Western things. Part of my interview process with him was explaining that I had built Frog, FX, and Matchbox kits. So he was way up to speed on Western modeling. The Hasegawa president also wanted to know what I knew about Revell, and having worked with those those kits as a kid. So yeah, they're very Western focused as well. Much more than the reason I bring this up is because I imagine Maschinen Krieger looks very Japanese to some folks who are experiencing it for the first time. But quite different from Gundam. It's probably much more accessible and based on Western concepts than might be first apparent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know it nearly as well as TJ, but I would agree with that, Link. I think it, while I think it does look a little bit Japanese, I think international is going to be the wrong term, but I do think it looks, it's got some European and some American influence, and it's got to be tremendously rewarding for you to see, like we did a Maschinen Krieger group build at Nationals that TJ coordinated. And we had over 40 models on
41 different models on in the display.
Yeah. And man, it's really awesome to see, here in 2023, Maschinen Krieger really, really growing and expanding again, sort of out here in America. So
no, it was fantastic to see the growth that, and thank you very much. You guys have been instrumental in making that happen. I mean, from our discussions with it back remember when FAQ came out, and I got in trouble for including too much MAK. I was hoping that would come up. I was hoping that joke would come up today. Why are some of these models in Lunar Combat? They're the ones that I wasn't allowed to do for FAQ. But then moving that along, and with your focus on it and the group build, it makes it more accessible, and it makes that entry bar easier to overcome, doesn't it? So thank you very much for that. That's been wonderful to see.
Oh, we were glad to do it. I mean, I like organizing the group builds. It's the third one we've done as a podcast. Second one I personally organized, and yeah, it's my favorite thing. So I mean, seeing all 41, I think it was at least 41 on the
huge.
table.
It was it was huge.
Yeah. I would venture to say it's probably been the largest single collection in one place of Maschinen Krieger in the United States since maybe there was a pretty decent one at Wonderfest for the 30th anniversary. So 10 years ago, I was not there, but I've seen pictures because Jason Eaton was there. I mean, he shared pictures not too long ago, actually. I think when the last Wonderfest in Kentucky, is that where it is?
Yeah, Scott? In Louisville. Yep.
Yeah, which was in June. People were sharing pictures of previous Wonderfest, the American Wonderfest.
Sure.
Not the same as the Japanese Wonderfest, which that is a bucket list item for me. That's a side tangent. Yeah, there was a pretty decent display for the 30th anniversary of Machine and Krieger at Wonderfest, but I
remember that.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at the pictures.
And again, thank you very much to the folks in the US who made that happen. That was big. And then you've gone one bigger.
I like to think so. I was quite proud of what we were able to as a community put together on the table, and people were really interested. And on top of that, that wasn't the only Machine and Krieger at the show. The mecha categories were pretty full, because I had one in that category, just as a standalone, and there was at least 5 others in the category. 2 of them placed. I did not, in that sci-fi vehicle, because they separated it all out. So then I had my Oscar in science fiction vehicle other, because that's what it is. It's not a walker. It's not a mecha. It's a hovering robot of some variety. And then there's Scratch Built.
Is it in the mud flaps or no mud flaps category?
The no mud flaps.
No mud flaps.
Then Brian had one of his Sandstalkers that he scratched. Cool. One of his original designs that was in Scratch Built science fiction. Yeah. And there was a couple other, because I went around. I'm terrible at taking pictures at a show, but I went around and looked at all of them. So
are you talking to people too?
I am. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. No, I totally get it, because you come back from the show and you think, oh, I didn't take any photos. Yeah. But I met John and Dave, and you meet all these people, so it's fantastic.
Trying to nudge TJ, come on, man, you're going to the show, you get your little phone out.
I'm terrible at it.
He laughs and pats me on the head, says, "I'll do my best," and off he goes.
But then you've got to be friends with you. You'll see that guy with the really awesome camera setup, who's really into it, and you can see he's got the focus on taking the photos. Hi, can we be friends, please? Because you've got G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip and the great photos. Together we can do something.
I just let someone else do it. That way I don't have to.
Link,
I didn't want to say it that way.
Link, TJ brought up something really, really interesting. We talk about, sort of Machine and Krieger growing in the United States. And then, you have people like Brian that are putting together models that, they're using, either Machine and Krieger or other kits, and then they're building, scratch building. I mean, and so it has to be gaining popularity when the subjects are being, used for modification and, sort of adjacent vehicles and machines. So
yes, exactly. I see it from growing up and going to the shows in Japan for forever. I see that kind of progression already kind of extending and propagating across shows in the US, because once you have enough artists, modelers, craftspeople working on these things, that they start coalescing, and people will be getting great ideas, and it's going to grow from there. It's fantastic.
Well, before we get too much further down the rabbit hole on this with you, I wanted to take a little bit of a break. So for those of you listening at home, Link has an awesome Facebook page called Paint on Plastic. And then Link, kind of walk us through the other areas of social media where people can find your work and your books and your own personal models, which we haven't even touched on yet.
Sure thing. I've attempted to have like a single touch point with my website, paintonplastic.com. Yes, it seemed clever, and I needed something very quick to get started on. So paintonplastic.com. Via that website, I then I make sure I share original content and access to the other platforms. So you can go to my Instagram via there, YouTube and so on. And they're all on the same name. Everything's, if you search Paint on Plastic or just my name, Lincoln Wright, various items will come up, and you can go from there.
He says very humbly, I'm gonna pump it a little bit here. It's got some amazing tutorials by Link showing how he does a lot of the techniques that he does, the work, and the presentation of the work, which I think is really, really important, especially for newbies, is fantastic. It's really, really top notch, really great photography. Everything really makes sense. It's easy to follow along with. So yeah, check paintonplastic.com or Paint on Plastic, on Facebook and the other social media outlets. So TJ and Link, this new book we have.
Thanks, Scott. That was an amazing intro. Thank you very much.
I don't know. Well, I mean, you sent me the check. I mean, before I cash it, I got to earn it, right? What are we looking at as far as dates? When is this new book going to be available for us to purchase?
The proofs are back. So late on Friday, I actually got a cover redo. So I'm approving that this morning and sending it off. So we're just waiting for the printer. So I would say we're probably within strike range of 2 to 3 weeks of initial mail outs going. So I'll probably once again just miss my self-imposed deadline of end of August. So we're looking at early September for availability.
Awesome. And where will be the best place for people to go to purchase this? Will it be directly from you, or are there other places that?
Oh, how I would love to say where all good books are sold. But the reality is, because it's still quite small, new, niche, there's what I can develop from the first one. So as a fledgling publisher, I'm still making outroads for connectivity. To answer the question properly, though, the best place to get it will be at paintonplastic.com, at my website. Hopefully, much like last time, there will be a couple of resellers who purchased books to bring to the US, Japan, Singapore. So there'll be some availability there as well.
Excellent.
But that takes a lot longer because of the shipping, dissemination, getting those things out. If you want to get it now, and if you want to get it signed, I'm happy to sign it for people. I always regret saying it, but I'm happy to sign people for books because it's kind of cool to have a little bit of a connection with the author. I'm happy to write something in there for you. So for that to happen, though, it does need to go from my hands. So they would be best to order directly from me.
Since we're talking about the book, and we've already kind of talked about spacecraft, and you mentioned the Sulco from Aliens. Along those lines, I know in Luna Combat, there is a scratch build, one of the coolest Machine Krieger designs, the banana boat. I've seen pictures of the original Scratch in some of my books. Crazy looking thing. It's really cool. That's one of the things I'm most excited about with the book, is looking at that and seeing the process, because as someone who's kind of like taking baby steps into scratch building, seeing scratch building is cool. And it's also just a fantastic design. Can you tell me a little bit, just for my own personal edification, about the banana boat that's going to be in Luna Combat?
So that one is a kit. That one was a kit. It was a Japan One Fest, which is, it's similar to Kentucky One Fest, and held in Japan a couple of times a year. I was hesitant. The banana boat was a bit of a judgment call, because Yokoyama-san has asked me to include things that are available for people, because you don't want to antagonize folks, right? You don't put in a bunch of unobtainium and say, look what these other people have. And it would be quite frustrating, right? So this kit, even when it was first released, was not easy to get. What I am hoping happens, though, is that the vendor will make it available again due to people contacting me. So it was a kit. I believe it's 135 scale and all in resin. And it looks like it was an absolute beast to make. And why I chose it for the book was the Mark 44 was a book about that particular model and its various iterations. Luna Combat has tried to touch on the various styles that the different artists use when completing Machine Krieger kits. I don't think it's a little bit of a new territory. I'm not sure it gets talked about much in scale modeling, but it's something that comes up on the Japanese side quite a bit, because there's a real crossover between designers, 2D artists, and people working on various other kinds of projects with Machine Krieger, at least in Japan, because the principal guy is an illustrator and designer himself. Am I making sense there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when we talk about aviation and armor, we're talking about it from a scale modeling perspective. So the style is make it look realistic, make it look real. and which is more than fine. What I was trying to share was the concept of slightly different styles being represented that you can kind of get into and release the beast from within to and mess around with these kind of ideas whilst working on Machine and Krieger kits, because they're not real. You're not limited by any concepts of producing something that looks realistic. It's just this cool thing. So the banana boat was my example of, I've got like, I think 5 different kinds of styles that I tried to give a summary and introduction to. You're responsible for one of them actually, TJ, which will be interesting to you. You don't, we've not discussed this before. I've not mentioned it to you, but the banana boat was, I wanted something very awe-inspiring to suggest the idea of Meister level of skill, like a kind of an uncommon mastery. And it's something we don't talk about, but we know it when we see it, don't we? We see some work like this and we're like, dude, that's whole another level. And Mr. Jung from Korea very much has that level of skill. So I was desperate to include some of his work in this book. And the banana boat seemed like the best first one, because the question just came up. Okay, they've got all this stuff on the on Earth. So we've seen them playing with that. How do they get all this crap to the moon? And the answer is, of course, the banana boat. So that was the reason it's included. And you're right, TJ. It's just a phenomenal kit. The photography and everything makes it look quite real. The scale is excellent at 135. So, you know, it's big enough to look good and self-shadow and look awesome. But it still was small enough that he could get it all in shot for photos. But I 100% agree with you. I'm so pleased to be able to present this. So I'm very proud.
All I know is I hope it comes back as a kit, because I when I can, will order resin from Japan, even though my wallet tells me I shouldn't. And if that is made a kit again, I will probably be one of the first to order it.
I did see there is a smaller version. So again, it's a little bit, is it horse before the cart, or is it chicken and egg? But in producing Lunar Combat, but it helped some of the kits to be redone. So in discussing this one with your grandma-san, Gallery 1, the main one that I wanted to share was my the one that really got me hooked on both Machine and Krieger and the lunar aspects of it was the fireball stopgap. I didn't know, but it was the very first kit that Wave put out for the genre, and it's like something like 22 years ago. And their first iteration was, it's a combination of I think it was some Nitto parts. I'm not sure if they added some new sprues, new runners to it. Some of it was by Model Kasten. It's this the Japanese brand that was also supporting Machine and Krieger stuff back then, and they were able to do a repop of that to more or less coincide with the release of the book. So that's been extremely gratifying. Again, I'm not in direct contact with the vendor, but I know Sensei Koyokama-san is. So they have re-released a different scale of the banana boat kit, so you can get a 1/76 scale version of it.
One of the other artists that's in the book is another one of my personal favorites. That's Alexander. And I think he built a cows. I don't know I'd never say that right. I don't know what is the actual way to pronounce it. Can we talk about that one a little bit? Because sure, I've seen the pictures of it, and anyone that knows, Alexander Duchamp, is that how you say his last name? It's French, so I probably butchered it. I'm not a French speaker, so I'm sorry, man. I apologize.
Hey, Alex is French, so I say it wrong too. No matter how much I've tried to say it correctly, we will never be. We never say it right. It's like, but he's very forgiving and very accommodating with that. He's an awesome guy. He lives in London, so I mean, you know, international man of mystery. He's been brutalized by the real world. Yes, I'll discuss this so long as you promise there'll be enough time to put you on the spot and discuss why you're in it and what I think you bring to the table and why this is so special and important. Is that a deal?
That's a deal.
Okay. So, Mr. Jung, Mr. Kyo Jung. Hello, Mr. Jung. I got to say a joke for him, right? I don't know if he's going to listen to this show, but we had this like little shorthand gag over the years. Oh, yeah. Was this this joke about how we would just say, oh yeah, with the music mark. And so Mr. Jung was actually the first international foreign artist that I was able to publish from Artbox, Model Graphics. So Mr. Jung was the first guy, and it was a big deal because he's Korean, Japan, Korea. But the Japan modeling scene was kind of, it's not that the modern folks were against them at all. It was just not done until some stupid Aussie guy goes, hey, we should show this because it's cool. And they just said, well, yeah, okay. I guess the foreigner in the room can then introduce another foreigner. And then that kind of snowballed along. So it was wonderful to include Mr. Jung because we have some history with that. I just wanted to mention that one. And it's not that the Japanese people were closed about it. It just, due to a lack of precedent and just having someone that was okay working between the worlds, it just didn't happen because how? Why? Much like having Chekhov on the bridge on the Enterprise. Someone had to start it, right? Bring the Soviets in 1968. So with Alex is another long-standing contributor, supporter. Alex stumbled into Machine and Krieger way long ago. And I think he was still a student at the time. We became a special kind of, we developed a special kind of friendship because, Alex said nice things about me. So I liked him. The reality of how human relationships work, right? And Alex immediately pointed out my groundwork and bases and what have you are not good enough. So we've had that on long-running, interesting interaction. Now, Alex, I really wanted him. Alex is the designer of the book too. So the reason the books look so beautiful is a lot of it goes into how it's prepared and the design. The design is a big deal. Alex is behind that. But I really wanted Alex, I desperately wanted Alex to show something from the Strahl, the SDR, because he's really into them. And the Melusine cults, the German people always tell me how wrong I am, but I heard how Japanese people stole German words and mispronounced them. So the real pronunciations, who knows, right? I mean, technically it's not really German, is it? It's Japanese concept of German. Just like for Alex, our Anglophile version of a French gentleman's name is just always going to be wrong like that. Alex is a really big fan of that shape, the silhouette of the cults. We've discussed that. The rear cover of the book, I think he nailed it by including the shot. He updated it to show this kind of silhouette of how the cults looks in profile. It looks fantastic. And I really wanted Alex to be able to introduce the concept of shibui. Now, I apologize very much to the English speakers listening to us. I'm not a complete nut job Japanophile. I'm not. I didn't even realize that was a thing. I see you. We're on screens. I can see the two guys laughing when I drop things like that. I understand that when I speak the words, I do happen. I'm bilingual in Japanese. It's because I grew up there, and again, it wasn't so much of a choice. I didn't go there because I was all weep nuts on anime. Which again, no issue. I just happened to find myself there. Needed to speak it because Hungary and they have girls there, just like everywhere else on the planet. If you find yourself, if you're a straight dude and you find yourself and you're young and you're not married and you're there where they have the kind of people that you're into, you learn a language real fast because you got stuff. You've got reasons to do things. So I'll leave that one at that. So with bringing that back to happy plastic modeling, Alex embodies, and we happen to have discussed this a few times too, because Alex has wonderful wide interests. He's a great designer, great artist, and he talked about these color concepts that we were seeing on things like Japanese pottery, different things like that. And I mentioned the concept. This is going back really some time. Poor Alex probably doesn't remember either. But I remember saying that, yeah, they got a word for that. It's called shibui. And I hadn't researched it yet as an English speaker. It's just something I'd learned in situ, which it's kind of different, isn't it? I don't know if you guys study other languages, but when you learn them as a translation of your native tongue, you tend to learn them as a comparative thing. But when you learn it in situ without the comparison, you kind of then learn it as a child does through experience and example. So, you'll see something, someone will say the word, and you go, oh, I mean something like that. And then through repetition and iteration, you actually develop a very deep and fundamental understanding of the concept. Shibuya was one of them. And I've since researched it and discovered that very famous US-based artists were very familiar with it. It's because it's been around forever. Frank Lloyd Wright, the fantastic US architect. You guys may have heard his name.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard of that guy.
Yeah,
Everyone's
once or twice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm just double checking. I was happy to mention him too, because maybe he having the same family name as me may rub off on me somehow. He was and he's big in Japan because one of their very prestigious hotels, he's the designer for it. And he became quite enamored with this concept of Shibuya. He doesn't use it in his literature, but he obviously was quite taken with the dichotomy, the idea of simplicity and complexity, and how it's beautifully combined by the Japanese. And it's very evident in quite a few of their art forms. Maschinenkrieger contains quite a bit of the Shibuya element. So, and it's quite obvious in the color styles, the design fu. Can I call it that? How it's some of the designs are quite complex, yet they're quite simple. You'll notice some people will lament that when they first get into it. They'll make like a suit, and they'll need to add more stuff to it, add more guns and what have you, which is always more than fine. But it's because they're still kind of bouncing back the idea of the complexity with the simplicity of it. Simple beauty with the complexity, both of which, if you don't understand to a very deep level, are very hard to combine. There's actually, the more you fall down this rabbit hole, you'll understand that many of the most famous artists were actually very, can I say enamored again? Were very passionate about the concept. Leonardo da Vinci, he didn't know Japanese words. I don't know if he was even aware that Japan existed, but he was quite taken with the idea of simplicity being most beautiful complication. I don't know if I'm too off target talking about this, but Alex is this. Alex be this. Alex's take on Shibuya, because this is how good it is. The book itself is Shibuya. If you like some aspects about Mark 44, you'll notice that it's not ostentatious. It's not overpowered. There's a certain simplicity to it. Yet, once you really immerse yourself in the simplicity, you'll see how there's a wonderful complication of detail included as well. Am I talking out of my ass, or is this making some kind of sense? This is quite...
it makes sense. Yeah.
It does, yeah.
It's really fascinating, yeah.
It's a whole thing, and it's not quite like, yes, you put on the primer, then you do the color coat, then you gloss for decals. Sorry, I know I'm quite away from our target space, but
no, not at all. I think getting back to where we started with, Star Wars and Aliens and Maschinenkrieger and where that aesthetic came from, I think something, when you take science fiction and you meld it with armor, you're sort of grounding it. And I think what you're talking about is the same way. A Tiger tank didn't have missiles and 18 guns on the turret. It sort of had what militarily maybe the situation called for, right? So there's a simplicity and elegance and functionality to that. And I think that's interesting. You know,
very much so, Scott. You're dead on the money there. So the I don't talk with these subjects with English speakers before, so this is actually a wonderful opportunity for me. Do you call it the Gustav, or what do you normally call the BF 109, for example?
Yeah,
BF 109.
You call it that one? Okay.
Yeah.
The Japanese fellas, they call it the Gustav mostly, but isn't that its nickname, or is that a variant and I've just got it wrong? But anyway, the BF 109. There's a number of warplanes that very much would fit into this category of being shibui because they were quite perfect, and it's due to their mission, right? They needed to be stripped down, didn't they? They had to be everything that counted and nothing that didn't. In their execution, they're kind of a type of minimalism was employed in their design. But there's also a certain amount of beauty was applied to them, like the Spitfire, for example, the Mustang, the Corsair, many of these top level warplanes, beautiful in design, yet minimalistic and quite directed in function, aren't they? They got one job, they do that one thing and they do it super well. And there's a reason they've become super classics, isn't there? You know those scenes where Maverick flies the P-51 in Top Gun and the new one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the aspects of shibui, if I could use the word again, is that they have a timeless quality as well. So to fully answer what both of you are saying is so on target, and what to try to complete what I was to complete for TJ, Alex brings shibui to the table, and it was in that chapter that I was granted that wonderful opportunity to try to explain how that might be used for our model making approach. We can use it for a few things like color, the model itself, and so on. And Alex is a wonderful example of that. And you've seen his cults, the blue one.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't told him yet. I told Yokoyama-san, Alex will make a blue one, and it will be a type of French blue that will be the most beautiful thing we've ever seen. And he did that. So when you're listening, Alex, that's what happened behind the scenes, bro. And you want to tell him yet?
I'm trying to decide what that conversation with Yokoyama-san was like when you mic dropped him with that prediction.
Yeah. When I sent it through, he said, wow, you nailed it. Yeah, you knew he'd do that. But Yokoyama-san, he's a very cool guy. He's not this stereotypical thing you'd imagine. He's not, he's very, in Australia, we call a guy like that very blokey. Folks in the US, I think you say it in a slightly different way though, don't you? You say, yeah, I don't know a translation for that one. But
yeah,
it's
just
very,
like a dude.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Billy Crystal would say it, it's like Deuteronomy. Yeah, Billy Crystal. So he jokes around like that too. So, like from a modeling thing, you get some folks who would treat it like a religion, and we would giggle together away from prying eyes about how, man, that guy's totally got the sitting under the waterfall in his Buddhist outfit, pretending that this is a religion and undergoing extreme arduousness for no good reason. Imagine if he had just made this and that and had fun with it, but can't say those things too much there. So the poor guy is kind of a little bit, he's a little bit, despite being the living legend, he's got to be careful how he talks about some of these things in front of that subspace, because there's some people who like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, let's circle back around to this Howler guy in Virginia and
here we go.
Sort of his entry for the book. What do you feel like Thomas Howler brought to the table, Link?
I don't know. Sorry. That was a sitting duck. I just had to do it.
Before you get started, is TJ blokey?
Yes, interestingly, TJ is the shibui of blokey because he'll say and do things that are blokey, but then he'll use vocabulary and throw you curveballs that are, the epitome of sophistication. And you're like, WTF did that come from? So, and that actually is like a hallmark of shibui. So interesting, right?
I try to be well-rounded.
if only I meant that for the book. I wasn't that clever to predict that. Some of the predictions have been good, but the main reason to the focus for TJ, he totally nailed it. And this one will be interesting. I'll try to keep it concise and on target, but it's simple, but not simple. It's Shibui. I hope that becomes a common word for us modelers and fans of Triple P, because it gets us across a lot of topics or challenges to explain something. For example, I do have one that will instantly show this for listeners. I was enthralled with Mr. John Bananas, the camouflage pattern that he did on I believe it was a Kunise Tiger, the king tiger.
Yeah.
It was this fantastic, very tight, insanely tight, airbrushed 3-color classic pattern. And the level of skill required to do that is just insane, right? Yet his execution through that level of skill and flawlessness made it look perfect and simple. It was an example of that type of thing being shown as shibui. You could show this to someone, for example, if you let Dunning-Kruger have effect and show this to a brand new person and say, yeah, you just airbrush this on, just hold it close and keep it steady and do that. A new person might believe it because of how simple and beautiful it looked. But those of us, unfortunately, who know what that requires, then we cry into our pillow, don't we? Because we know what it we know the reality of what that takes. So I thought that's a perfect example of shibui. So John Banani-san, you are also shibui, which I mean, it's like one of the highest form of compliment. TJ was, for the 5 style themes that I wanted to personify through examples in the book, and I especially wanted them to be done by not me, because this helps. It's a very short aside. One of the things that I've collaborated with the various manufacturers over the years and various publications. One of the things that one of the Spanish publishers has a challenge with is that one guy tries to do everything. One guy tries to be the guy for every kind of modeling. And the thing is, he can. He's really, really, really good. And he's actually a nice guy too. But mere humans, we have trouble understanding that. And I don't think we can really see it. I think it would work much better. There's a different publisher, so they have a different person for each of the delineations. I think that one becomes a little bit easier for us to understand. Is that am I making some sense there?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So TJ is a tank guy who accidentally makes airplanes and space stuff.
Guilty as charged.
We get that, right? So I felt it was really important to show for 2 reasons why, I'd hate to come across as that kind of idiot guy who's trying to be all the things to all people. And number 2, I don't have the skill for it. Thank goodness. So, and number 3, by having you do something, I don't have to do it. the real one. There we go. That level of honesty, ladies and gentlemen, is hard to come across. But I figured if I can get someone who's both better than me, and then I don't have to do it, I can focus on the part that I think would bring value to folks. So in showing these different styles, I wanted to show people who were so good at it that I felt it was covered enough that I could stand back and not have to try to even explain it, because that's very hard to do. And that was one of the challenges with FAQ, was that they ask you to, in asking you to represent sci-fi, there's a whole lot of sci-fi to cover. And I don't think even with 1,000 pages, you could do it justice. So that's a small aside that I wanted to get into.
Couple of things here really quick. First of all, your AK Sci-Fi FAQ, speaking for myself, that is like my favorite modeling book I have. I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you. I love that. And all my other modeling books, if they had to go, I would keep that one. So anyway, job well done. But TJ, what a compliment Link just paid you. I mean, wow. The fact that, he didn't say the word trust, but the implied trust to not only collaborate with you, but then to allow you to display things kind of on behalf of Link, who I'm talking about in the third person. That's amazing.
I'm still here, you know.
Anyway, huge compliment.
I'm humbled. Trust me.
Hey, at no point, TJ, did I drop the word trust. It was, as far as I could hear myself babbling, I stood back and phoned it in while TJ took care of business. That's more like it.
So you trusted him, but you still had your finger on the big red button the whole time.
You see, TJ has proven himself. So I didn't even think to use the word trust because he's there. TJ does what TJ does. He's shown himself. And that was why I actively went after him. In fact, all of the people that feature in the book, I scouted them. I'm happy for people to contact me, but I didn't go in that direction. I wanted specific people to come into it. And with TJ, there's a number of things that I knew he could accomplish. I trusted him to accomplish. So TJ was invited to exemplify the theme of technical expertise, technical skill, which is a very big and important point. In fact, it's the baseline one. If we don't have technical skill, that's it, right? We're not getting to the moon. We're not building models. We're not doing anything. It's like, so I've been watching a lot because of lunar combat. I've been watching a lot of NASA, Artemis, moon stuff, Apollo. And I felt that TJ exemplifies a version of that kind of modeling, that of technical expertise, where he gets it as right as can possibly be. You guys, I don't know if it's too old a term, but you've heard of Six Sigma?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I'm a Six Sigma certified black belt.
Can we drop that one on? TJ is like the Six Sigma of plastic modeling.
Nice.
Because, he's gotten everything not a little bit right. Very, 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 very right. He's like if Toyota, you remember how Toyota improved their production line through giving the ability to staff on the production line to be able to stop it. So they perfected that. The way TJ approaches things, I feel that it's a nigh perfect way to do it. Now, interestingly, the Strahl faction, the Strahl Democratic Republic. We'll just stick with that. There's a few things to it. I got a bit of a strange loop there. The way they're described, they're not bad guys. They're a very technologically advanced, capable union of peoples that has been kind of thrown a curveball with having to manage the Earth. This is in the backstory. It's not super important that we understand this to enjoy the modeling, but there's some fun aspects to it that the Strahl have been given Earth to govern. They didn't ask for it. And so the Strahl military forces that we see shown are maybe not all that into it, but they have a very high level of expertise and technological advancement, which is shown by some of their equipment. And how perfect would it be for TJ to do the version that I think really exemplifies their technological advancement, which is one of their AI machines. One of the most popular ones is the Lunar Gans. I think it was one of the earlier ones, and it's shown. So that one matches up really well because I feel one of the most important aspects of US-based modeling is the technical expertise that the US brings to do we call it the hobby, the genre?
Yeah, I think so.
But realistically, the US brings it to everything. Technical expertise, engineering, and all of these aspects. How perfect would it be for TJ to show that aspect as it exists in the Machine and Krieger space universe? And so his work on producing the Lunar Gans, it's a kind of perfection to me in showing technical expertise.
Thank you. I don't know if I agree with that assessment, but I appreciate it.
And you didn't mess it up.
No, I did not.
Does that kind of make sense? So Alex was for Shibui. TJ very much to me personifies that technical mastery. And it's like from an engineering point of view, which I think is perfect because the Lunar Gans looks real. It's fantastic. And it's very much different and contrasts with the way I ruin models. I mean, I have a certain amount of technical expertise, yet I've tried to do them. And because I've been doing it for long enough, it kind of, you know what I mean? You get ruined. If you do things a certain way long enough, that habit is very hard to shake. So in going down that path of trying to emulate the Koyokuyama-san sensei Rembrandt version on models, you do that long enough, you're not going to be able to do the other ones as well because your eyes shifted, your arms not working the same as it was when you were pitching straight. So that's why having TJ do exactly that kind of style in a way that he does so well is just perfect to show other people. And if I can illustrate that by just contrasting it with one more, for example, there's Mr. C. Lim, who's based in he's in Edinburgh, I believe. Sorry, T, if I forgot where you're living, bro. I'm pretty sure he's in Scotland. So he's in the UK. He does model aircraft beautifully. Often, some of my favorite work of his was both with Macross and with modern fighter jets. He has a style that I would call like clean and beautiful, which I've kind of mentioned in the book too. It's called tenaire. And that was a word we would often use when we were discussing people's work. That's what I've tried to provide with you is when we would talk about guys' work to bring in to show at Hobby Japan, we would say what we liked about them, why we wanted to bring them in. So tenaire was one of the things that would often come up. It's become quite synonymous with gunpla. Some of the more famous people who do gunpla, Japanese gunpla style. Mostly it's done in a very clean, pristine, soft blended airbrush look. You guys know what I mean, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
There's that kind of look. TJ's is like that, but it's sharper, more technical. So that was really important to have in. And TJ nailed it. He's our poster for technical mastery. I'm so happy for him to do it. And to do it for the Strahl as well. It just seemed so thematic. There you go. I got it into 30 words or less.
Well done. Well done.
Well, I'll make no secret that I am a SDR fan. All of my favorite designs.
See?
Other than the Prowler, I do love the Prowler and the Sea Pig. That's one of my other favorite ones. But most of everything else, it's SDR. I don't know, something about them.
Well, you might be happy. My ruined Sea Pig is in the book too. That's number 10.
Yes. Oh, I love your Sea Pig. I think it's great.
I felt that the publication, some of the publications before, they didn't show the models to their extent. So there's a lot of competing space with the product bottles. So it's sometimes not as much about the models as the little bottles of paint. But I get it. I mean, they've got something, that's something they need to do. So the models are not often shown fully in their, how they can live and breathe. You know what I mean? Like you need sometimes a little bit more angles, a little bit bigger photography, just needs to be given a bit more space. And I don't think the CPIG had been shown in that way before. So this time you get a better look at it. I think you can get a better understanding of it. I haven't talked to you guys down, have I? I've gone long.
No, not at all. Really, really looking forward to this book. It's going to be fantastic. I think you've done an awesome job of bringing some of those. I love the terminology being in Japanese. I mean, there's always an exotic quality to words in another language, but sometimes in another language, a term can mean something actually better or, explain something more fully than you can in a word in English or, whatever, even American English.
No, exactly. And I mean, in English, we enjoy one of the most accommodating languages in that we do import. One of the reasons English has been so successful is that we're very quick to bring in words that mean something. It becomes a mental shortcut for us, doesn't it? So they're hyper useful. And I thought some of these might be useful for people to use as a kind of mental shortcut to explain concepts. Plus, once we become aware of a concept, we can use it more. I wanted to bring that gift to the modeling community as well, because of course we're aware of these things, but until we have like a mental picture or even a word to associate for it, we don't often, it's difficult to grasp. But once we have a word for it, we can use it and it'll become more apparent in our work.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Interesting. Well, Luna Combat, early September, we hope, from paintonplastic.com. Link, what's next? next after Luna Combat?
Depends on what TJ starts making. But seriously, though, one of the models that I started putting together just before my little health bump, and then I finished it after I came back, I've been extremely taken by them. I think it's a fantastic kit, but quite different. So the Mark 44, I wanted to put a spotlight on that because I felt it was a really good kit to be one of your first ones. If you're new to Maschinen Krieger, it's available. It's a nice build, pretty simple, and you can get into all kinds of hijinks with it, right? If you want to use all kinds of techniques, and basically all of them can be used. Next, I've been working on Grosserhund. So talking about that Strahl thing, the Strahl technology, I was quite interested and excited to work on something that, to me, it comes across as one of the most high-tech machines in this genre. And there happens to be a series of the kits. I'm building number 6 now. I've built 5 of them so far. I feel that, man, that's been a mission. That's new for me. I have never sat down and built 5 versions of a kit ever, back to back. It's different. I'm not sure if I would recommend it to people to do, but wow, you get up to speed pretty quick and you learn a lot about the kit. Again, I'm in awe of the thought that Yokoyama-san's put into it, because there's 3 different versions and you've got early and late on each one. And wow, it's fascinating. So that might be coming down the pipe.
I look forward to seeing those. Any recent tutorials or anything else that you've kind of been working on social media or on your website?
Yeah. So the most recent, I've finished painting 2 versions of the Grosser Hund, the big dog. And just be careful of that on your internet searches, what terms you put in front of it. MAK big dog might work. It's the very first time that I've been able to put what I think is a good iteration of winter snow camo. I'm working on that video now. So that will be the next one to hit my YouTube channel. Will be Link doing winter whitewash wrong on a large AI robot that's here to kill us all. Wait, that came out wrong. Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I was kind of excited by them. It seems like something that DARPA would make, but, a little bit scarier. Winter whitewashing it. It's been a few years since I've done a winter whitewash. And, you go back to a scheme and realize that you really like it. I think winter whitewash, each time I do it, I like to tell myself it's my new favorite, but then it goes back into the wash. But
well, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Yeah, that one, it's been pretty good. I've captured a lot of video for it. I'm a bit sorry. I'm a bit slow on some of the video output. Do I say I don't want to cry about it, but doing multiple things like this in different directions, it is challenging, book, video, and what have you. Whose idea was that?
I wonder.
Yeah, if I had focused in one direction, it probably would have gone a little better. But, hey, I very much like how they expand the topic. You can show some things by video better. I think some things in publication form come across well, and I just like both. So I want to do both.
If I ever get to write your biography, I now have a title. It'll be Squirrel, the Lincoln Wright story.
Too true. Well, I hope you're excited by it, and I hope you really like this new book. I've tried to keep it. I like how the progress has been happening with the triple P community. I hope that this is another empowering tool for them, so that I wrote it in a way that Mark 44 guide would be a great first step. And this one, it's more about how Maschinen Krieger will be empowering to your modeling life. It was one of the great overarching themes I tried to keep in mind whilst writing it. So the concepts of permission and how it's quite open, like how strict is the law, things like that. So I hope it's really empowering for the community.
I believe that it will. I know that a number of my friends that live in the Virginia area, I think they've already put in a group order to you. My friend Eric was taking care of that.
Yes, Eric. And your secret's safe with me. We won't tell TJ what we're doing.
So I know they're very excited, and I know I'm personally I can't wait. I really can, and I cannot thank you enough for the opportunity. I really can. It's both incredibly empowering and extraordinarily humbling to be involved. It really is.
No, and I thank you. Thank you so much, TJ. It turned out great. I mean, you did you very well. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, it's the only thing I know how to do.
Right? Jokingly, that's why I say that for that reason. I once saw, I think it was, but both separately, I saw Bruce Willis and William Shatner explaining the very same thing. They were both lamenting that kind of low-level directors, or they'd get hired for these gigs, and then these low-level directors would try to tell them to be someone else. And Bruce Willis, he's pretty deadpan. He just said, look, buddy, you hire Bruce Willis, you get Bruce Willis. And the simplicity of that bomb was so perfect. I just thought, yeah, I mean, I imagine like the same would be with so many actors and stars, right? You hire Mel Gibson, you're getting Mel Gibson, for good, for all the good and all the bad. So, but that goes down to selection and doing things right and having a strong vision for your product. You need to make sure that you're making the right plan and idea for it, right? And you were always a perfect choice for this, TJ, and you've done it well. So thank you very much. And we placed you in, I think you're 5 or 6, so you're in the first just half to kind of, it's a great tipping point in the book. You're going to be really impressed when you get it. Oh, and might I say too, we've embiggened the book from the first mentions of the release. It ballooned up to its 150 pages.
We're gonna need to provide like a glossary of terms for this conversation. Embiggened, I love it.
Yeah,
it's a perfectly cromulent word, Scott.
It's perfectly cromulent. Thank you. Thank you, Pepsi.
Oh man. Well, Link, I want to thank you. You've been such a great supporter of the Triple P. I think this is the 3rd time you've let us pester you. I remember that first time, I reached out, hey Link, will you would you mind, and you were great. You're like, Scott, ease up, take a drink, buddy. Just, I'll talk to you. It's okay. You've been great, and, love the contributions on the site. And it's been super exciting for TJ and I and others as science fiction fans and as Machine and Krieger fans to see the job you do as really just an outstanding ambassador for this property and for this genre. And we just have appreciated, you being willing to talk about it, let alone, the tutorials you do in these books. So, patting you on the back a little bit here, but we just really, really appreciate the relationship and your personal contributions and your contributions as a great ambassador for Machine and Krieger.
Hey, I mean, I'm part of the Triple P community, so no, all good. I'm more than happy. I've been on the show a lot, and I think right from the beginning as well. So I only do these things to get on the show.
Well, job well done.
Yeah. One more shout out to Grant. I hope you're okay with the storm passing. Grant has been a wonderful friend and supporter for many, many years, and we just hope he's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And reach out to our friends in California. Recently, man, we've been through some tough times, haven't we?
Man, I'll say the weather has been very, very strange, to say the least. So anyway, well, one more time, Link, where can people find your work and this book? Where can people find it?
So, guys, very simply, paintonplastic.com. You can Google me, Lincoln Wright. All comes up. Machine and Krieger in English, MAK in English. The book pops up very quickly. I will try to get the other one back in store for you, probably with an expanded iteration of it. But thank you very much for the support. I sincerely appreciate it. The amount of people that have pre-ordered, even before we had shown what was in it, thank you very much for the sign of trust. I sincerely appreciate that. That was amazing.
Well, that was awesome. And, you highlighted, the people you're working with in the book, and you very, very carefully avoided the subject of your own work, which is just terrific. And anyway.
Should I mention something like that? There's also a bunch of awesome models by me.
That's a great point.
I didn't even count them yet, but I think I've supplied roughly half the content for the book. It is actually a separate theme that I wanted to put the spotlight on everyone else first, but I kind of did have a separate theme running this time as well. But that might be a discussion for another time. I don't want to overstay the welcome.
Well, you continue to feel better. Can't wait to see what's next. The book's going to be awesome. Thank you again for coming back, and we always look forward to talking to you.
Thanks very much, Scott. Thanks, DJ. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Link. It's great that he's feeling better. Look forward to this new book. Obviously, TJ's contributed to that. And man, it's always fun talking to Link, and he's a blast to talk to.
I also want to throw out there real quick. Sorry, Scott. I also want to throw out there real quick that his other book, his first book, sold out. So that is a big plus for him. It's a big plus for the people that got the first copy. So, congratulations, Link, on that. All the best in the world.
All right, let's roll over to JB to talk about some merch.
All right, it's that time, everyone. If you would like to rep the Posse, you can check out all of our awesome merch at the Triple P Spring page. You can find coffee mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, or even our world-famous lounge trousers. What I think need to be added on that is a onesie for your favorite little guy or girl. Big shout out to Ian iBones Models for a big congratulations on him and his wife having a lovely young boy. We will get some onesies up there so that he and others can enjoy the Posse at any age. So you can order all this stylish Plastic Posse merch on the website plastic-posse-podcast.creator-spring.com
or loungetrousers.com.
And soon to be added, the hashtag Blame Benani shirt.
I think a lot of people can say that now, actually.
Yes. That shirt will sell out. Well, thanks for riding along with us on episode 76 of the Plastic Posse. Your support, along with our great sponsors and patrons, helps bring the Triple P to you every 2 weeks. Got a gripe? Maybe a suggestion? You can send your feedback to plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't yet joined the Plastic Posse page on Facebook, why not? What are you, crazy? See you all in 2 weeks, and have a great modeling hobby weekend, and talk to you guys all later. And before I go, I got to say one more thing. Yeehaw!
Just a reminder, if you would like to support the Triple P and become a Plastic Posse Outrider, it couldn't be easier. Just go on over to our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/Plastic Posse Podcast, and you can set up a recurring donation there. These contributions help offset the cost of bringing you the Triple P. There's 3 different tiers of support, and they start at just $1 a month. There's some great benefits. You can get early access to our podcast. You get premium access to the hosts. You get the chance to appear on a podcast and be famous like Mr. Cliff Herring. And you also get exclusive Triple P content like JB's recent trip to Normandy with patron-only photos. We've done special builds on there, all kinds of great stuff. So I think it's pretty good value. Let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These guys really step up and help the posse to do what we do, and we sincerely thank them for their support.
Tim Gidcombe, Dan Newman, Robert Blocker, Tyler Moore, Derek Post, Craig Flynn, Brian Kreiner, Scale Model Craft, Ken Childress, Nick Butta, Drew Gardner, Scott Hall, Frank Perrone, The Voice of Bob, Jeremy Diamond, Ryan Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Idenmill, Bruce the Model Noob, Steve Baker, Eric Daglish, Joe Porche, Patrick Brown, Steve Schaefer, Jay Kidd, Brandon Gentry, Robert Klein, Mark Ewing, Ted Kawahara, Toadman, Model Doc, Doug Reed, Greg James, Les Ricalla, B Colt 1911, John Everett, Josh Buck, Black Rifle Model Works, Thomas Bannock, Mark Bradley, Zach Pease, Joel Munson, Eric Brubaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Matt Johnson, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Talley, Previous Seat, Mediocre Middle-Aged Modeler, Dan Nuffel, and JC Osborne.
And let's recognize our excellent posse foremen. These foremen are outriders who give the deputy marshals a hand. Tim, Jeff, Eddie, Ross, George, Gary, Woroff Models, Drew, Ross, Eric, Len, Cliff, Eric, Mike, Papa Steve, Logan, Red Beach One Studios, MB Models, JV, Damon, Karen, Kobe, Tim, Nukeman Mike, Greg, JAK, Ash, Irish Pat, Paul, What's the Deal with iBones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, MAK Armor, Chris, Lee, and Jamie.
And of course, our posse outriders. We appreciate all of you, including our newest outrider, Charles Rice. Thanks, Charles, and welcome to the posse. Please consider posting a review of the Triple P on the podcast platform that you use. Remember that each 5-star review helps other modelers find the Plastic Posse. And as Doug mentioned earlier, if you're not a member of our Plastic Posse group on Facebook, please consider joining. It's a lot of fun. You can comment on photos, post pictures of your builds, and just have a lot of fun. See y'all in 2 weeks.